Hello everyone! Good night and welcome to today's stream. I'm TheNando, a YouTuber that mostly streams Age of Empires 2, but I also do like to do my collabs and chatting and variety streams. And today I have a chatting stream with Terakawa Hana, and feel free to introduce yourself.
Hello. The name's Terakawa Hana, Dragon Girl at your service, and I am very glad to be here to talk a lot about RTS games because they are my favorite games, and always lovely to chat with someone who is very experienced in those as well.
Yes. I since a kid, it's been my favorite genre since I think my first RTSs were like Warcraft 2, Starcraft 1, Age of Empires, the first one, of course. And from our conversations, you are also quite experienced in RTS games, and you are a master in Starcraft, as I used in the title. I only reached Diamond, so huge respect.
Kind of paid advertising though. I'm not master anymore skill wise. Maybe if I played like a month, like just with full practice, I would be again. But skill wise, I'm really not now. I'm like maybe like Diamond 2 or something. Just regularly playing. But yeah, I get you.
Once a master, always a master. You have the title.
Okay, fair enough. That was certainly, yeah, mastering the city. That's very impressive. Thank you. Also, hi, Mr. Overheat. Hi, Kradantoste. I actually got, so if I may talk about my StarCraft 2
sure.
PP journey. So I have this very old story from 2010 because my cousin, who actually was also the cousin who gifted my brothers and me like our first copy of StarCraft 1 in 2003. He got an account from a friend, and and neither his friend nor he could really play it at the time. So he shared that account with my older brother. And my older brother was told to give me that account as well, access to it so that I can play. And I was refused that account. My older brother didn't want to give it to me. So I basically one time for a certain, event, that cousin came here. And I had to basically get him to like give me the account details so that I could play the beta. It was a beta account. And instead of getting to play the beta for like 2 or 3 months, I only got 3 weeks of playing the beta, and I played as Protoss, and I got to Plat in 2 weeks, and at the time Diamond was the highest one. Originally it was actually Platinum the highest one, but then they very quickly added Diamond. So I was getting pretty decent very quickly. But because I also knew that I wouldn't be able to play it for longer because I couldn't exactly get the actual game, Wings of Liberty, I ended up just playing random for a while, doing weird shit, copying Liquid DLO's builds, my favorite player of all time. But yeah, it was a really fun time. And then the very first StarCraft 2 that I could actually buy, and with my own money, was Legacy of the Void. No, that was StarCraft 2. That was StarCraft 2 beta. I was 2 years old when StarCraft 1 came out. But Legacy of the Void is StarCraft 2. I was at first I was like playing Protoss, but then randomly in just like some practice matches of sorts with an acquaintance at the time, I ended up playing Zerg for the match, and I just loved it. I just really love playing the Zerg, and from then on I've stuck with Zerg. And slowly over 2016 I got pretty good, got to Masters, was Masters for about 2 years, 8 seasons or so in 1v1. And so sorry for hogging the stream for a little bit.
This is This is the purpose of the stream. Feel free. We are.
I know,
here.
but we are. It's just that I'm hogging a bit. It is your stream, but I do actually have two funny stories. Well, one funny and one interesting story from when I was like really still playing the game. One is that like in 2016, like late 2016, I believe, Nina, if you know the Protoss player Nina, she, like, under the different name that she went by then, because yeah, she's also trans. she asked on Twitter for some players who would like, she wanted like, she was Kelazar, I think, was teaching her how to play some Terran. And she was like asking, I want to get some players that are like masters level, to play a game, one game against each faction. And I replied. I was lucky to see it at the time. I replied, and I got invited to it. In the end, she just played only against me, and we played 3 games of ZVT, and they were the sweatiest fucking games I've ever played. Because so obviously she wasn't that good at Terran, like with her general skill level. I mean. But, she was still more than a match for me as a master's level. Oh, I'm a bit too loud apparently, and you're a bit too quiet.
Okay, don't worry. Yeah, thanks, Kratos. That's why I have amazing mods here. But don't worry, you can keep chatting.
Yes.
I take care of the technical boring stuff.
I just noticed, and I figured I'd also alert you if you didn't. So... we played 3 games. It was a best of 3, and the 2 and I won overall. I won in the end. The 2 maps that I won on were I believe Frozen Temple was one of them, and the other was oh my god, what was it called? Galactic something. I don't know if you played it, but they were the worst maps. Yeah, no worries. They were the worst maps for 3 Rex Reaper, which was like the meta thing to play then, because Reapers were insane. They were insane. They were so good versus Zerg. But I still managed to beat both the Rush and like the game in the, and later in the game. The one map that I lost was like the map that was the best for Zerg, but I just I didn't use my spellcasters well enough. So in the end, I won. I had a win against the pro player. Yes, it was against someone playing off faction, not their main faction and all that. But still, I got to win.
Yes. No, don't find excuses for the others. You gotta win. That's what matters.
Yeah. Hi, Stephanie.
Hello, Stephanie. Yes, and thanks for showing. Appreciation for my chat.
Of course. I always love doing that. The other story is later in 2017, I believe. I can't pronounce your name, but hi.
Hello. Yes, I can't also pronounce it. Hello.
Is that meant to be Konstantinos or something? But yeah, the other story is that Team Liquid we're doing a, what's it called? Like a practice house. They're at the practice house all together, trying to get better at the game. Yeah, I figured it was in Greek, and that was my guess. It made sense.
Now
I'm actually a
know.
linguist.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm actually a linguist and a historian with my master's degree, so I know a bit, but not that much. So I could guess. Yeah, good catch. Yeah. And one day for their, their team house, team building, and playing, getting better, they were like, yeah, let's make a community thing. We'll get we'll ask fans to sign up, and we'll play like 2v2 games. And I was hoping to, if I got in, I was hoping that I'd get either with TLO or against TLO, who was my, as I said, my favorite player ever.
Yes.
Never unfortunately the best, but he was super creative and very funny. and I loved it. Also, hi RD and hi Dizzy.
Hello, Dizzy.
And I
Sorry, you
didn't
keep getting
get to
interrupted.
play. Yeah, no worries, no worries. I'm a bit scatterbrained like that anyway. So
No worries.
So I didn't get to play either with or against Yellow. I actually got my teammate was Uthermal, and my opponent was Snoot, and then she was like still a player, I think, and a streamer. I don't know what she does now. I think her name was Alice, and she had something extra to her name. I don't remember. And the difference was like I was like Diamond 1 at the time, Diamond 1 like on the verge of Masters, and she was like Diamond 3, so like that was the biggest skill difference there, which weighed things in Euthermal and mine's favor. So we were given the pick for the map, and we chose the shortest rush distance map. And they knew that we were gonna rush. They knew that we were gonna. They were raging that we got the map pick, and we did rush. I did like a ling rush into like a small ling rush into roaches. Euthermal actually complimented me on my micro because I was able to at all times evade the grenade so that my units wouldn't get damaged. While still keeping Snoot's units, I believe, damaged. And yeah, playing with Euthermal OP, yeah, it was. And so we won it. It was, although honestly, it would have been harder if Alice, the other player, didn't go macro if she went to try to defend like the rush. But anyway, they raged so hard that they were like, "Nah, we gotta do a rematch." And like the team manager and stuff, you know, eventually we all got into a voice call. We agreed to play another match. This was supposed to be just one match, and you know, we did in the end settle on playing another match on the largest map. They got the map pick, so they went to the largest map. But the funny part, so the reason why this is a funny story is because I specifically said, I was basically silent the whole time because I didn't have anything to say. But I, at the end, said, listen, I don't know why you're bothering with this. It's not like we're gonna lose. I shit-talked Snoot, and
That's amazing.
you know, yeah. I love Snoot actually. Snoot was also like I watched his streams a lot. I've learned a lot from him as well. Actually, my hotkey setup is mostly Snoot's. You know. But anyway, and then map 2, we still absolutely crushed them. It wasn't even close. Although, it wasn't even close. Although. What probably helped was that we, by accident, because they were both Zerg, by accident we ended up doing the most damage to Alice. So she just couldn't get an army in. So it was basically Snoot versus the two of us. And like, I was mechoing like crazy, you know, and stuff like, you know, full road Ravager infestor army and stuff like that. It was great. Like, I still remember that fondly. And yeah, I acted like the winner before the game even started. That's the thing that I think PvP players should always keep in mind. No matter who you're facing, even if you know that you're going to lose, you have to act and play as if you're going to win.
Yes. That's for... I'm going on a small tangent, because I play a lot of competitive games, not only... Age of Empires, that's my main game, but also board games. And I haven't been practicing my board game skills. I play Go, a strategy game, but because I've been practicing a lot of Age of Empires and I developed this mentality that you are talking about, it's very important, the mental aspect, going in with the attitude for winning. So I haven't actively practiced other games, but because I'm developing this mental sense, I feel like I perform much better across the board, just based on attitude alone. It makes such a huge difference. I agree.
It does. It does. You didn't get to catch my games at that community
Yes.
tournament with Lady Saffron, so I can. That actually nicely leads into that because I have some stuff to talk about that. So, chat. I was playing in a community server, but like everyone else in the server that was playing, like wasn't near my skill level. If I played legit standard, if I played a Zerg, if I played, mouse and keyboard, like the whole thing, like I would just crush everyone. It wouldn't be even close. It wouldn't be even fun. And by the way, I was invited. Like I was invited to the first one as well. I mean, Mr. Overheat, I don't know what you want me to say. Like, I'm like the best player who also like I'll get to the supposed best player. Was like Platinum 3, when he plays a lot at least.
Even I'm better
So
than that.
that's a huge. Yeah, like it just wouldn't be fair. But like I was the one invited originally. I did end up joining this one for my own reasons, and to also have some fun, show some fun builds. So the agreement was that I play with mouse only, and I play Protoss. Protoss mostly because like the tournament organizer asked me to. If I played Terran, it would have been harder. Because Terran is like the most macro focused overall,
Yeah.
and it would have been very, very hard. On mine, it was still very hard. It was insanely hard, and due to apparently the luck of the draw, the supposed best player and I kept being shuffled against each other on challenge. When they were, and I was actually genuinely scared because I knew that he was actually pretty good overall. That if he played, he could do stuff with me. I had some stuff prepared, and it seems that he went in with the mentality that he would just get crushed. So that is what happened. But
Yeah.
the thing is, it didn't have to happen the way it happened. Because in both games, so first game I did admittedly build he has never seen, which was a Void Ray Rush. I did a Void Ray Rush, it's everything that like, even like pro players use that rush sometimes against Terran. Here's the thing, I was scouted. I was completely scouted. I had a cyber core and a gateway. I didn't have a unit. I forgot to make a unit to try and deflect the Reaper. He saw everything, and he didn't prepare. If you see the base of the Protoss is empty, and you don't see an expansion, I don't understand why he didn't build 2 bunkers immediately by default. Start making defensive units,
Yeah.
that doesn't mean that he would have won, because that's a very tit-for-tat build. But he would have had a much higher chance. Instead, he just played the same thing as ever, and I just had the better unit and got on his production, and he couldn't really make units.
Yeah, I see that a lot in Age of Empires. In the ELO, it's hard to convert the Age of Empires ELO into Starcraft level, but in the level below my own, I see that a lot of players have a game plan, and no matter what's happening, it's okay. I developed this game plan before it started, and I'm going to execute it. And I feel like that makes the game less exciting. It's a lot better to okay. I have a plan. It's good to go into a plan, but you also gotta read and react, and that's the good part about strategy games, is the interaction. It's okay, my opponent's base is empty, he's not macroing, okay, maybe adding a third a command center when my opponent is on one, that's too greedy, you need to adapt. And yeah, you often see that either players don't know how to read the signs, or they just are too focused on their own base, and strategy games are a battle, are an exchange. It's me against you. It's not me alone. So yeah, I do see that a lot in
Yeah. It is how it is, depending on the lower level versus higher level. It was. I'm not saying like obviously I didn't make it easy on him by choosing that specific build, I could have done any other build, although honestly, like I could have probably just completely macroed, didn't give a crap about what he was doing, and I would have still probably out macroed.
Yes.
Because like I can listen, Tosta, you can watch the VOD on my
Yes.
on my Twitch channel.
Yeah, links for Terakawa's socials, both Twitch and YouTube, are in the description down below if anyone is interested.
Yes. Yeah, thank you. And you would be able to see how I played, and it wasn't really that high level. Admittedly, especially extra, you know, I would, you know, I've made some other concessions to make it extra hard on myself, as I'll talk about. Knowing the builds and being able to detect them and scouting is something that requires a lot of knowledge about the game and player. That is true. That is definitely true, and especially like if you play against random players on the ladder, you know, you have no idea necessarily what they'll do. However, the thing here is not that he knew what build I was doing specifically, because there are a few other builds that I could have been going for. Not that many, but like I think like not really a DT rush. I think it would have been like an immortal rush, immortal drop, something like that. The point is mostly that if he scouted that the base was empty, like that should give an alarm bell. So you should go immediately super defensive, because if you don't see anything at the main base, it's obvious that it's somewhere else, and you're probably going to get attacked. It's kind of a basic logic of how RTS games work. On like, I would be surprised if he never faced a Protoss player who didn't try to do some sort of a rush, not necessarily like this one, but like in general, that required scouting and detecting, and he probably lost to it and didn't think, oh yeah, maybe I should have reacted differently.
Yeah. There's also one thing I see a lot, talking about the mentality twin. For example, maybe your skill level is the same when you play on a tournament. I mean, in this tournament, not because you had the drawbacks, but for example, I feel like when I play in a tournament, I play either at my skill level or better, with the exception of one or two matches where I had fun watching back and it's like, oh no, I played horrible. But I don't let the pressure get me. I think there's maybe even if he has the experience, if it was a ranked match, he would be able to read it. But now we talked about the mental aspect, maybe because it was a tournament, he felt the pressure, he knew people were watching the casting and things like that. Some people get very affected by that. I do believe the mental part, so it's as you said, you need to have the winning mentality, and maybe the defeat was there, not during, not the lack of scouting, but the nervousness, the failure to adapt. I can...
And just the feeling that he will fail no matter what he does.
Yes.
Because yeah, that's such a huge thing. Because something similar happened in the second game. Because I did a zealot, all in zealot +1, all in. It's not really a good build against pro players, I think. But here's the thing: he also scouted it. He scouted. So whenever you're all winning as Protoss, if you get 8 gateways early, like and your opponent sees that, okay, obviously again it depends on game knowledge, it depends on everything. But in that case, if you see a lot of production and not enough bases, you know something is coming. And because like I have seen a similar build, admittedly it was adept +1 build. No, I didn't. It's that I was genuinely taking him seriously, and I thought that he would genuinely try to be a much stronger player than he ended up being. That's what it was. So because I didn't even do the build that well. You know, 2 bunkers at his natural, he defends that. 2 bunkers, putting SCVs on them, he defends that easily. And he even has, like, I had a war prison that I had to scramble so hard to micro. He would also have had enough space to defend that. without trying. Well, of course, I know what he should have done. He probably didn't, but it's still part mentality, part game knowledge, part actually doing, acting upon the scouting. But that comes in contrast with my the opponent that I had next. I won't talk about the whole tournament because the final two matches were not that exciting either. But I wanted to talk about this contrast because I was playing against a player who I actually that same morning, like I woke up at like 5:15. I need to go pee because and because I have an anxiety disorder. I was. I didn't need to check my tablet for the time, but I checked the time and I saw the message, and it was like, and she was like, "Oh yeah, Hana, can you coach me?" Like this evening. She's in California, and I was like, "Oh, I want to sleep. I want to coach you, but I want to sleep." And I just couldn't sleep because like my brain just went into overdrive. So I went and coached her. I coached her how to properly use her hotkeys and how to macro better. And even though, like she almost said that she just forfeited the match, but in the end she went into it. She also thought that she was going to lose. Instead, what happened? It was that the highest skill, the first map was the highest skill match in that entire tournament. She took me to my absolute limit. Admittedly, in some points I didn't make it harder on myself. I wasn't reacting to some stuff intentionally as fast as I should have. But like it was like almost 25 minutes long match. It was so back and forth. She had more bases than me. Expanding everywhere, building stuff. Like I had to make an effort to multitask, have multiple armies, finding the bases around the map. It was so hard. I did manage to win, although she was ahead for a little while, but I did, manage to bring my, eventually I got carriers. I was like, you know what, I can make this cat and mouse game go on for as long as possible. Let's just got carriers in the end, and that settled the deal. It also helped that she forgot to get upgrades past 1-1.
Yes.
Which is unfortunate because I had like 3-3, 3-3-2, like 2 shields. And I was getting plus, I think I just got +1 on my air weapons at the final attack, so. But yeah, that was such a hard game. I really do recommend watching it because I think it's still a really, really fun game. And the second map that I somehow won, I should have lost. I should have lost so hard. Because I was expecting a certain opening. She liked to do like a drop with a siege tank and 4 marines. And I was like, you know what, just making some zealots, delaying my charge and going like 2 oracles to attack the mineral lines. That delayed attack. It will probably be fine. 4 zealots should be more than enough to take care of that, because, they'll just get in, I move my probes away. Instead, what happened was that she attacked me, like, on the ground, 3 marauders, 6 marines. And I lost 20 probes, I defended. And the only reason I was still in the game was because I probably killed, like, 30 SCVs with the oracles.
The oracles, yes.
But like I was so far behind, I didn't have upgrades, I didn't have anything. I just focused on getting as many charge lots as I could, some stalkers, a few void rays, because they were the highest damage unit I could get. And then, I saw that she had a 3rd base, and I was like, okay, let's move out, I need to do damage. And I saw that she was moving her army like parallel to me on that map. She wanted to go destroy me. And I was like, okay, I have one win condition here, because I don't have anything else. The win condition is me getting into her production, leaving a couple of units there, so that whatever she produces, it will get killed immediately by the zealots. Because then if zealots are really, really good at that, and then recalling and doing my best to defend the push. Like that was my one chance, and I managed it. I should not have been able to win that map. It was so close. It was way too close. So yeah, but that's the mentality. Even though she knew, or she thought she knew that she was gonna lose, she did absolutely everything. She applied what I taught her that very morning for me to almost beat me, and she should have had at least one map.
Yes.
So yeah, that's like the full story.
Yeah, hello, Nego.
Hello, Nego. Hello.
And thanks for sharing your story with the Starcraft tournament, because I feel like that's one of the most... of course, each gaming genre has its own culture, its own community. I think one of the most important things in RTS, of course, during a lot of time, I think that era is finally coming to an end. Everyone just said, oh, RTS is dying as a genre. Oh, the age of RTS is over. And I feel like now we see a lot of RTSs, either old games coming back, we see new releases, and one thing that I feel like it's vital in the RTS genre, of course now I'm more in the AoE side. My main RTS used to be Starcraft, so when you talk about these players like Thermal and the builds and everything, I'm like, oh, what a blast from the past, because before AoE to the release, Starcraft was my main RTS game. So I'm feeling very nostalgic from this talk. But yeah, I'm glad you're sharing your experience with the StarCraft 2 tournament, because I feel like this is part of what makes RTS so great. This sense of community, this sense of people organizing and just sharing the passion for the game, regardless of skill level and experience.
Yeah, that's in the post-tournament talk, that's something that I emphasized, that I was like, I hope you've seen some like high-level stuff, how to do stuff. I know that, several players, actually, like at least one or two players, that got later into the games, actually used units that they've never used before, because they've seen me. I used them. Like one player tried to use the Oracle. I didn't quite know how to do it. Took him a second to realize, oh yeah, that's a spell.
Yeah.
Just
they
attack.
don't attack by default.
Yeah, and other stuff. They've played better because they've seen, how a higher level is supposed to look like, and that's what I was trying to, and I was trying to teach them. I was giving them pointers. I keep offering coaching. Ruby, that's the player who brought me to my limits. She actually took it upon herself to ask me for coaching, and I did my best to do it. One player who first time played the game somehow managed to beat a somewhat more experienced player. I watched his games and I was like, God, if he wanted to play, I could make him at least a master level player.
I saw you counting that match. I remember watching that. I was there on your stream.
I mean, am I wrong?
Yeah.
He showed not necessarily an understanding, but a really, really strong instinct.
Yeah.
And he wants to be a very cursed player. That's his personality, being very cursed. But he can still be cursed and a really good player. There are many players who play some batshit insane things. He could probably learn from. Do you know the Vietnamese player Mio Maika?
I don't think I do.
Oh my god, he's a Zerg player, absolutely insane one. Never mind, but yeah, that's I love sharing. The love with RTS. I'm always here to help if I can, and always give pointers. And if I can talk a bit about it, when you talked about that there was this for a long time, this idea that RTS is dead. And
yes.
I was just oh, you have no idea how much I hate that sentence. I hate it with any genre, mind you.
Yes.
But what I really hate it is because if you say that and you keep saying it, it becomes a self-perpetuating prophecy.
Yes, absolutely agree.
that's something that I think happened a lot with StarCraft in particular. For the longest time, I think it's not quite as bad now, but for such a long time it was like StarCraft is that, StarCraft is that, StarCraft is that, and that creates a negative atmosphere. Obviously, StarCraft 2 had its problems for a long time, especially in PvP. With metas, with very imbalanced metas, and that's fair. But the extra like pressure of the community being like, oh no, everything sucks. That obviously made things worse, and I hate that because that's part of what brought RTS to the point that it was. But thankfully, a lot of people who were previously extremely passionate about RTS games ended up, starting either making their own RTS games or, remaking passionate people's remaking, older games and, making new ones. So I'm like really happy. We're getting a lot of RTSs in the next few years, and I'm so happy about that.
Yeah, it's very exciting. As an RTS fan, for the first time in a long time, we can get very excited. And for example, talking about the contrast in game culture, I feel like Age of Empires had the opposite that StarCraft happened. I feel like StarCraft now is bouncing back, but it took a dip because everyone was saying, oh, the game is dead, the game is dead, the game is gone. And I think what happened to Age of Empires was the opposite. I feel like the game was dead, but the community was very, no, the game is alive, the game, no, this is not dead, Age of Empires, but the game was dead. And I feel like some names like TheNando is one of the most prominent figures in content creation in Age of Empires. And they managed, of course, the recent version, AoE 2DE, helped a lot, but I feel like people grabbed, it was the opposite. When you say something is dead over and over again, you self-perpetuate that to become true. I feel like in Age of Empires, luckily what happened was the opposite. And I'm talking about, of course, about AoE 2.
Yeah.
So many players loved the game so much that somehow it withstood that hard part, and I feel like now it's healthy, the AoE 2 space. I feel like the game, I mean, of course, pro players want bigger tournaments, want more prize pool, streamers want more viewers, of course, everyone wants bigger numbers, but I don't think either StarCraft 2 or Age of Empires 2 are in a bad position right now, especially compared to what has been, yes.
Yeah, I think StarCraft is fine still, it's fine. Mostly the issue is that it feels a slight bit morose, rather than like the whole, the game is dead. It's more like people have sort of accepted that things are as they are, and that the game's not going to get any real development.
Yeah.
Which does suck, because it really should have, but unfortunately Blizzard, past 2018 in particular, I mean, you could still say like from earlier, from 2015 on, but like 2018 in particular, and afterwards, just nosedive so freaking hard.
Yeah, and
I'm happy that AoE 2 space is in a really good spot. I think one of the reasons, if I can make my theory, the reason why AoE 2 went, like the community went with that kind of approach, was exactly because AoE 2 was always in the shadow of StarCraft as the most popular in the community. In the community type of thing, like that is true. StarCraft is getting hi Davasab HD is getting a lot of love from modders. Yes, there are a lot of mods, a lot of campaigns. I think Azeroth Reborn was released or will be released very soon. So Warcraft 3 campaigns in StarCraft 2. So yeah, I'm paying attention. I'm thinking of streaming that actually, because it's not like I can stream Warcraft 3. But yeah, the thing is that exactly because it was so quote-unquote dead, the community, instead of being depressed, decided to do its best to be strong. But like StarCraft had such a wider audience. Like both StarCraft 1, I think StarCraft 1 outperformed Age of Empires. I'm not sure if they were roughly equal, but it had the biggest professional community because of South Korea.
Yes.
Let's be real, because of that. So that's why it was like the RTS, so to say. And then Warcraft 3 obviously released, and that became like the biggest one in the West. You know, outside
Yes.
of Korea, I should say. That's probably better.
Yes.
And then StarCraft 2 was like Wings of Liberty was such a smash hit. Wings of
Yeah.
Liberty sold at like even near release, sold more than 8 million copies, which is like huge.
Yeah.
It's like it's one of the biggest game releases ever. So it simply had such a much larger audience. But then if that much larger audience becomes depressed, you know, it becomes much worse.
Yeah, and I've been to South Korea, and how many years was it? Like 7 or 8 years ago, and I went to places, and there were still massive posters of StarCraft 1 and 2. I flicked through the TV, and there were 2 or 3 channels still on national broadcast, still showing StarCraft matches. I have a selfie of myself in front of the TV showing StarCraft, because when I was in Korea, it was during my StarCraft era, and I was like, "This is insane."
Yeah. And nowadays in StarCraft 2, like half the audience is usually people, you know, who visit Korea or, you know, stay in Korea, like from outside and is Korean. For StarCraft 2 specifically, for StarCraft 1, it's still huge. Like, it's huge relatively speaking. Obviously, League of Legends dominates, like, by
yes,
far.
everything.
And Overwatch to
Valorant.
a certain extent. Valorant now is mega huge in there and in Japan. But yeah, it was simply a tale of two contrasting expectations of community, and how that ended up impacting the perceptions and what those communities ended up doing. And I'm glad that Age of Empires to StarCraft. I mean, Age of Mythology also has its own community, and I think it's unfortunate that its extended edition kind of sucked.
Yeah.
But with Retold that is coming out soon, I really hope we will get a renaissance in Age of Mythology as well. I'm so looking forward to it. But before we get to Age of Mythology, I also think as one of the games, like, I don't think it gets credited enough for that, but I genuinely think that Age of Empires 4 showed that if you make a good RTS game, if you market it, it will be successful.
Yes.
Because that is specifically because if you notice in the timeline, well, part of it was because the Blizzard StarCraft team got shattered and their employees laid off. Part of it is that, but if you notice the timeline of the Renaissance, people have seen that Age of Empires 4 was successful, and from there, a lot of RTS games have gotten a lot more exposure, and a lot more people have at least stepped up in showing that they're making RTS games. If not started making RTS games. And I'm so happy about it because I love Age of Empires 4 so much. It was the perfect game at the perfect time. Even if I really hate the reviewers.
Age of Empires 4, me and Terakawa Hana had spoken, of course, about things in private as well. Age of Empires 4 did for me the best thing it could possibly do, and it was not try to be Age of Empires 2.
Yes.
That was the best decision. Even, for example, of course, my favorite RTS is Age of Empires 2. So, if a game deviates from it, usually I prefer it to be a copy, of course, because that's what I like. But Age of Empires 2 has 20 years of development. No new game will be able to compete with that. So if you want to create something good, something everlasting, it's much better to try something different, because that's also a paradigm I think is shifting. I think for a long while, people thought that RTS games, okay, you build base, you build units, this is the genre, you just apply a different fresh coat of paint on top of it, and the genre is finished. But there's so much more that can be done, and there's some games out there that are RTS games to the core, but twist the formula like Supreme Commander or Sins of a Solar Empire, that are RTS games at their core, but they switch the economy, they switch some things, and there's so much yet to be done in you don't need to create Starcraft 2 or Age of Empires 2 to just go out there and create Age of Empires 4 and 5 and Starcraft 3 and 4 and Warcraft 4.
Yeah, yeah, like you build upon those games. You don't make copies of them. That's also a thing that Starcraft did. Is I don't know if you saw the initial release videos of like how the units looked, how the game looked, in 208, for
Yes.
Starcraft 2. But it looked very much visually, despite obviously unit differences, it looked very visually exactly like Starcraft 1.
Yes,
Like
I
the
remember
units,
that.
the models, the buildings. And it's a really good thing that they've decided to change it because it actually differentiated the game. It might have gotten the more nostalgic people to stick with the game longer, but overall in the long term it was probably better. Not probably, but definitely better
Yeah.
that they've changed it and went with a different style of look of the units and graphics, etc. And the gameplay, obviously, because I will say that as much as I know that there are people who prefer that StarCraft 1 has RNG, because you do have actual RNG in the game, like how the spider mines will work, how the vision works, specifically with the high ground, low ground, because you have a 50% chance of just missing target. And that, if a low ground unit attacks a high ground unit, 50% chance.
Oh, I
to
did
miss
not
it.
know that. I played StarCraft
Yeah.
1, but StarCraft 1 I was young Nando. I didn't know, like, I played the campaign and that was it. I was not competitive, understanding what was happening. I was like, build a lot of troops, see cutscenes, these guys are so badass, what is this? Spaceships. I was that kind of player back then still.
Yeah, same. I mean, I also cheated at the time. Like I was. It's only when I played the StarCraft 2 beta was, that I started playing the game seriously without, any cheats. Obviously, I couldn't play the campaign anyway, so because it was the beta. But yeah, pretty much. I agree with that, and I only learned that much later myself. But I've learned that you have several types of RNG in StarCraft 1, and SC2 makes the units take less damage and making it more constant, and that is also actually a pretty big shift because of how StarCraft 1 is actually, if you really look at it, StarCraft 1 is a broken mess. The reason why it works is because people figured out how to make it work, and in the end, win. Because, for example, Zerg was absolutely fucking broken during the Savior era, like 2004, 5, 6. Then Bisu came along and just destroyed the Savior, and from then on, PvC it has been 50-50, more or less. Obviously, things have evolved, but ever since then, the matchup is balanced. But it's also kind of a weird balance in which they've made it work. StarCraft 2 needed a slightly stronger hand because the developers initially during Wings of Liberty and Heart of the Storm were hoping that the players would manage to figure out something meta breaking like that for example, Broodlord Infestor era or the Swarmhost eras and some other stuff.
Oh, Swarmhost
Unfortunately,
era,
they didn't. They didn't and couldn't. So in the end, they had to like apply a firmer hand, change it, and from there, the game got into a healthier state. It's just that it took longer than it should have, but it was the mentality of trying to stick with what worked in StarCraft 1 when, they didn't necessarily need to, but it is what it is. I love StarCraft 2, obviously. I love StarCraft 1. If I can go on a tangent, I have another fun story, so...
Go ahead, yes.
Also, 2016, actually, I don't know if you know the commentators. There's the commentator Wardy, the caster. We usually refer to as a caster, like shoutcaster. He tweeted, or is it 2017? He tweeted, give me examples of tech that you would like to take from the Starcraft universe into our own universe, and I'll pick the best answers, and Blizzard will send the gifts to you. You can pick something. And I was like, so admittedly, this is probably actually a horrible choice, but I thought it was like an obvious answer, and that's Zerg regeneration.
Yeah.
Because they can self-regenerate. They can essentially live forever through self-regenerating. And let's be real, if we apply that to human biology, that would probably end up extremely horribly. It would technically fix medicine forever because we would never get ill, but, And I was chosen. I was actually chosen. And at the time I was like, I shouldn't ask for too much. I asked for a pro plushie. And I have it. It's on my PC.
Oh, that's great.
I love it. It's a pro plushie. It's so cute. I was considering asking if possible to also send me like the Zergling Baitling plushie, because that's 1 and 2. But I decided not. And I was like, okay, I'll get the pro plushie. And eventually I got it. I didn't even know that I would get it that day. Suddenly I got a package. But the package didn't have just the pro plushie. It was also, there was the Starcraft remastered OST vinyl.
Oh, that's amazing. That's incredible.
I can't even play it. I don't have a gramophone or anything. I don't have a recorder. I want to play it. Don't get me wrong. But even as a collector's thing, I am super happy to have it.
Please store that in good condition. That's an amazing item to have.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I keep it. It's awesome. I was very happy with it. I mean, there's not much that I can do to keep it in good condition. It's in its package, safely tucked in on a shelf. I'm not taking it out. There's no point. Anyway, and hopefully it will, stay in basically mint condition for as long as possible. But yeah, it's hard not to, when StarCraft has been such a huge part of my life, it's hard not to, always think of it in the end, StarCraft in particular, as the best RTS. Like, favorite RTS, obviously subjective. My favorite RTS now actually is probably Age of Empires 4, and in a couple of months it will probably be Age of Mythology Retold. At least I hope so.
Yes, we all hope so.
But I think that if we're talking about objectively the best one, I think StarCraft 2 just like. It's not really a contest.
Yeah, if you talk about how the competitive scene is, for example, what do you prefer? Asking, do I prefer to play competitive Age of Empires or StarCraft? I think that's a huge question of taste. But if you talk about the game overall, for StarCraft 2, the story, the world, the co-op, there's so many things that people...
The factions, the designs, the uniqueness, it's...
the browser, the arcade, I spent so much time on the arcade. I feel like...
It's so good.
For example, when
I'm pretty sure Direct Strike has its own special separate community. Just for Direct Strike.
Yeah. I've played a lot of games on the arcade, actually, and we have Kraventost here in chat. Me and Kraventost spend so much time both on the arcade and playing co-op missions on StarCraft. I feel like...
Yeah, I believe, yeah.
For people, for example, when I transitioned from StarCraft to Age of Empires, it was because I was getting a bit burned out of StarCraft. It was not because people said the game was dying. No, I was getting tired and I needed a switch, and I did end up enjoying the competitive side. But oh boy, there are so many things that were such a massive downgrade when transitioning from StarCraft to Age of Empires 2. So many quality of life things, so many... the menus, the designs. I do enjoy playing AoE more, but StarCraft 2 is the better game. I can't argue with that.
Yeah, right now nothing can top it. I can tell you for sure that Stormgate can't top it. So the problem isn't scripting the co-op maps as much as it is I think one huge aspect that StarCraft 2 co-op has that Age of Empires 2 cannot have is simply that the faction difference.
Very
The faction designs
asymmetrical.
are super asymmetrical, and that makes it possible to not just have cool maps, but also to have a lot of cool commanders, cool sub-factions, essentially, that play in very, very different games when you play them, like playing Tychus, playing Statman,
Oh,
playing...
Tychus is so fun, I love playing Tychus.
Playing I don't know, I forgot his name. Stukov.
Yes.
Playing Stukov, playing Phoenix, playing even Kerrigan, it is very, very different.
And Mengsk, I loved playing Mengsk.
Mengsk, yeah. I actually don't in the end, but unfortunately, AI2 does actually have co-op. You have co-op maps.
Yeah, we now have co-op.
The problem is, and you have a co-op campaign, but the problem is, you pretty much play the same game, just in co-op. Yeah. So it's not as good. If you had more varied factions, it would definitely work a lot better, I think.
And game mechanics that are actually unique to co-op, for example.
Yeah. Or that's why I think Age of Empires 4, if it focused on making a proper co-op mode, especially with the variant factions, it would be a smash hit. It would get, it would take time, but they could make it as good as StarCraft 2's co-op, because you have some really insane factions. I don't know if you have seen it.
Propagators. Propagators,
I hate the propagators. Yes. They're the worst thing. I've won maybe 2 matches against propagators and lost all of them.
Me and Kratos have spent long evenings cursing the name of the propagators.
Yeah, that's fair. Same, trust me, same.
Yeah.
But yeah, Age of Empires 4. I don't know if you've seen the variant factions, for example, and the newer factions that they've added to the game.
No,
from the Byzantines, the Japanese, which have some very unique mechanics, or the variant factions. One variant faction in Age of Empires 4 is literally just called Jeanne d'Arc. And the main thing for it is that you have Jeanne d'Arc. She starts as a villager. The more she works as a villager, she ends up leveling up, becomes a foot soldier, and then the more she fights, and she has abilities, she buffs, etc. And then she becomes like a knight, and eventually she can even have a gun, I believe, or something. Go. It's actually, it's so cool. It's obviously, it's not exactly historical, but a point of the variant faction is not to be as historical. It's about to be really fucking cool.
Yeah.
And, Jeanne d'Arc manages that. It's a cool take on the French while focusing on Jeanne d'Arc as both a historical figure and as a hero unit. It's so cool.
And by the way, we are talking about this asymmetry and the co-op. Age of Mythology doing a co-op like Starcraft.
I think it might be even better, but I want to save Age of Mythology retold a bit for last, because we have something to react to, but also some very specific news to it. I want to talk about one specific variant faction as well for AoE4, which is called Order of the Dragon. It's a historical order. It was an order of elite units. It was founded by Sigismund of Luxembourg, HRE Emperor, King of Hungary, Bohemia, etc. And the main gimmick of that one is that your units cost twice the pop cap and the resources, everything, but they are twice as strong. So you have these really cool units. It's like an elite force of, so it's sort of like Nova's units in co-op,
Yeah.
but instead of, being called down, you produce them like you would
And
regularly.
I'm imagining
But
in
still,
Age of Empires 4 the dropship coming with the units.
yeah, it would be so funny. But yeah, that like there's so much potential with that kind of asymmetry for a really good co-op mode. I'm hoping that they add it someday because then I would be able to play AoE 4 more casually as well. Right now, I mostly just play the campaigns because as much as I love AoE 4, I don't really have that level of a competitive spirit for it. For RTS games in general, I prefer to play them casually now. And while there are things that you can play now that are still casual, but the main thing that I would find fun is the co-op, and the co-op is just like basically PvP, but instead you're playing 2v2 against AI or something. So,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, I feel like, for example, I just reminded me of something else. There are some recent games. I think Ashes of Singularity is one of them that
yeah,
they want to do. Okay, the biggest hit of most RTS games is the competitive scene. At least it's what brings up sponsors and everything. But I feel like an RTS is the complete package. You can't StarCraft without the campaign, without the co-op, without everything. It's not the same. Of course, the multiplayer by itself is great, but what makes StarCraft is the whole package. Age of Empires 2, of
yeah,
course, the campaign does show its age. but Age of
more
Empires,
than just that.
yeah, Age of Empires
Yeah.
4, Warcraft 3 is a game that was incredibly. I feel like story-wise, Warcraft 3 for me is the best RTS there is. I love Warcraft 3 story. Warcraft 2, Starcraft 2's campaign is better. Gameplay, mission design, everything is better. Just the story, and that's because I'm also a fantasy nerd, so I love
No worries,
Warcraft
no
3's
worries.
story. But what I said, I feel like nowadays so many games look at, okay, StarCraft has competitive. Let's skip everything. Let's skip world building. Let's skip
I know.
design. Let's just create a competitive scene, and that doesn't work. I feel like finally people are trying to steer away from that. When I open one of those new RTS games and there's no campaigns, there's nothing, it pains my heart.
Have you tried Grey Goo?
Grey. Oh yes. Let me just. Which one was that?
That one actually does have a campaign, although it's like half the length of a StarCraft 2 campaign. But it mostly tried to focus on the competitive. It died very quickly.
Yeah,
While I do that, actually, I do have to go to the bathroom, so I'll be right back.
Let's
Yeah.
take the opportunity. Let's do a quick 2 or 3
Yes.
minute break. Yes. Let's go.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah, 1 or 2 minutes. And
Be right
we'll
back,
be back.
chat.
Be right back. Hello, we are back from our break. Oh, and
Yes, we are back. Let's talk with the comments a bit, I think.
yeah, and let me just make one side note before. We have Wasabi here in chat, and we are talking about the competitive aspect and the drive for winning in tournaments. This chatter, the Wasabi, is the only player in Age of Empires who has defeated me in a tournament set. He got eliminated because it was a group stage, but he is less skilled than me. Sorry, Wasabi. But he's the only player because he went with the mentality to win. So huge respect for Wasabi, and thanks for showing up today.
GG's. I'll play.
GG, exactly. But yeah, Chat was talking about the level editors, and that's also huge in RTSs.
Yeah. Did you ever do anything in those? And did you ever try?
Oh, yes, especially. I mean, I use AoE editor now to create the thumbnails and everything. But what I use the most, which one? I used a lot Empire Earth. It wasn't great, but as a kid I loved Empire Earth, so I spent so much time, and I love I don't know if you played Empire Earth.
No, unfortunately not. Like, I saw it released. I saw it. There was an article in a gaming magazine that I was reading, and I wanted to play it, but I mean, I didn't have internet, and I was like a kid at the time, so I couldn't really buy it. But so I never got a chance to play it, and I'll be real now, I don't think I could get into it. Yeah. So the floor is yours with that, with Empire.
Yeah, no, the game, it's like Age of Empires, but it spans throughout the entire history. So it starts in the prehistoric age with Clubmans, and it ends in the space age with the expansion, the Age of Conquerors. And for Kid Nando, like having like spearmans and guys with swords and shields fighting against robots, for my kid's brain it was like, oh, this is the coolest thing ever. But actually sometimes I return to those older games. For example, I've tried returning to Age of Mythology, and I was like, oof, this needs a remake. You'll feel Empire Earth. I was surprised, of course I'm biased because it was my favorite game growing up. I was surprised at how much quality of life for an RTS the game already had for its time. For example, things we take for granted, like rally points. For Age of Empires 1 and a lot of RTS didn't have rally points. Double clicking to select all units of the same type. Although having a huge select limit. For some games, Warcraft, you could only select, I think it's 12 units at a time. 12. Yeah, and nowadays it's painful to have those limits. When I played Empire Earth, of course, the visuals are very janky, but I was surprised with how well the game aged. I was surprised with the amount of quality of life things it already had at that point. But yeah, the game, I don't think it had the best editor, but Kid Nando's brain just went insane with that editor. And some things were very intuitive. For example, if I want to change the stats of a unit on Age of Empires 2, I need to create a trigger and then change things, and it is very complicated. On Empire Earth,
I've been there.
Yeah, on Empire Earth, the unit has a set amount of health. You just click it, and the stat increases. I can give 1,000,000 attack just by clicking the attack button on and it's like, why can't I do that in Age of Empires? Why do I need to create a trigger, set health at this level? A lot of things on that were very intuitive. And Kratos, it didn't have auto farm. What it did have was, instead of farms having like 60 or 120 food, like in I don't remember the number, but farms had like 99,999 food, so you didn't have to replenish farms.
Yeah, probably for the best, yeah.
Yeah.
And Age of Mythology doesn't have auto farms because it also has basically infinite.
Yeah, it's the Empire Earth and Age of Mythology had. And by the way, Nego is talking about Red Alert. Did you play Red Alert?
No, that was also one that I ended up skipping, unfortunately. The only I wanted to also play Generals, Command and Conquer Generals, but unfortunately I didn't get to. because I just didn't get. But my brothers and I, we got Command and Conquer 3 Tiberian Wars
Tiberian
as a
Wars.
gift. And I had so much fun with it. I actually can't play today because of one simple reason. I cannot properly A move because like you have to A move with right click, and if you just like, and it's so unintuitive. It's so bad actually. It hurts me. Like I think if they just remastered it, like gave it proper proper resolution stuff, and updated the control scheme, I would be able to I would have so much fun with it again. But like right now, I just can't because it just annoys me so much because I'm used to a more regular control scheme.
Yeah, and by the way,
But yeah, unfortunately, I did end up skipping a few of those classic RTS games.
yeah, and we were talking about some things are subjective for taste. One thing that's
Yes.
not subjective, microing in Starcraft 2, it feels so good. Every other game that you try to micro troops, of course, every game has pathing issues, even Starcraft has pathing issues, but I feel like any game that you try to micro after microing in Starcraft feels like a downgrade. At least in my opinion.
For sure. I do think Age of Mythology is okay. I do think there are others that you have okay stuff. In Age of Empires 2, definitely not. I think so. I don't know if you agree with this. Age of Empires 4 has way smoother microing. It's still a bit Age of Empires-y, but it's not as janky as Age of Empires. I'm sorry, I don't have to put it like
I mean,
that.
one of my favorite Age of Empires 2 channels, and I've been featured there during my coaching session with Hera, is called Age of Pathing, and it's just showing how horrible. And you're not inside.
No, not that much.
Not that much.
I know Shadow of the Law, I believe.
Spirit of the Law, yes.
Spirit of the Law, yeah.
During 9 months, of course, in all RTSs, the different units make the balance. For example, if Zealots are unplayable, for example, Protoss breaks because it's a core unit, you need it. For 9 months, the pathing of archers were so bad that archers were basically unplayable in Age of Empires, and that was, for the competitive scene, that was a disaster. Because you had pro players like Leary, he's a beast with archers, and then suddenly archers are useless, because archers are the units that require the most micro, and there were some janky things going on, and you couldn't use archers. You could, but they were pain.
It just wouldn't work well. Yeah.
So
Sorry.
when you when you point out the negatives in Age of Empires 2, don't worry, I'm not the kind of person who looks with rose-tinted glasses and says this is the best game of all times with no flaws. No, I feel them in my skin and bones, all the flaws of AoE, don't worry.
Yeah, I mean, StarCraft 2 has flaws, as you said. Even StarCraft 2's pathing isn't perfect, although to be fair, I don't think that there can be an RTS game or any game, well, any RTS game, there can definitely be other games with much better pathing.
Yes.
But I don't think an RTS game can have perfect pathing because in RTS games in competitive scenes, pathing is subjective, and it can also just be a mistake of the player. Like you click on one pixel, and if you clicked on the pixel to the left, you would have saved your army. But because you clicked on that one specific pixel, half your army went elsewhere, and you got wiped. Because of that, and that happens even in StarCraft 2. But besides that, it's just really nice and fluid. I don't know. It does. That is something that always games need to work on. It does suck sort of for StarCraft 1 that they decided not to fix the Dragoon animation. Even though it's technically not a bug. I've seen a video that explains how it's not a bug, but it's just that it works so wrong. But if they fixed it, the Dragoons would be way too fucking good.
Yeah.
So So I do get it, but yeah, that's why we have more modern games and Starcraft. It's fine to keep Starcraft as it is because it's more or less in as good a state as it can be. And if you actually changed a lot of the balance stuff, it could break the game completely. But yeah, speaking of slightly older games, chat, Nando,
Yes.
have you guys played Battle for Middle Earth?
Oh, yes.
Lord of the Rings Battle for Middle Earth.
Yes.
1 and 2.
I'm so salty by the fact that because of rights and everything, there's no good way to play it nowadays.
It's basically abandonware.
Yeah, I just want to
Abandonware.
I just want to hop in and join Cradle Toast and play a match. I love that game.
I know. I do too. It's so it's such a shame. There's a remake being made by the way because technically, but like who knows when it will be finished because it's still like a free project, you know, and stuff, and because it has to be a free project. Because technically there are people who could go after the project, you know, it's technically not abandonware, even though it basically is. So, you know, it sucks that we'll have to wait for who knows how long. Like, I want someone to just buy that IP, you know, just wrestle the IP somehow.
Yeah, no, for me it's the thing. I mean, I can play it easily by myself, but me and Kratos, of course, I've told he's one of my biggest RTS partners. Yeah. Yes, when we tried to play together, Battle for Middle Earth, we spent like 1 hour just to set up a 30-minute game because the internet was having issues. Because I mean, it's not like a full supported server or things like that. It's not, and I miss Battle for Middle Earth so much. And he's talking about the wall spam.
I miss it too.
Well, because I've played a lot of Battle for Middle Earth, and Kratos, I'm the one who got Kratos into the game, and so me playing against Kratos, I took the role as bully very seriously. I went all in with wonky strategies, dropping walls on his face. Just so fun.
Yeah. Yeah, once again, yeah. Yes, it's true. The remake project looks super impressive, and I agree. It's huge effort. I'm super happy that they're doing it. It just sucks that they have to take so long to make it because they cannot have it as a project that they would get salary from and live from it. So they have to do it in their free time. You know, that's mostly why it's taking this long. It would take half as much time, if not even less, if they didn't. But you know, if it ever gets released, and I'm hoping that it will, I'm going to play the shit out of it. I love it.
Same.
I mean, I'm also a huge Lord of the Rings buff. You know, I love Lord of the Rings so much. Like, I've watched the movies so many times, I've read the book so many times.
Yes, same.
Yeah.
I mean, I did tell you before that I love Warcraft and I'm a fantasy nerd. If I'm a fantasy nerd, I'm a Lord of the Rings nerd.
Exactly. I agree.
But go ahead. Sorry.
So I think, maybe this will get me cancelled on the internet, but I still think Battle for Middle Earth games are better games than any of the other games that were made with Lord of the Rings IP.
Oh, I agree.
That includes Shadow of War and Shadow of Mordor.
I agree.
Yeah.
I feel like those games are good, but they don't compare to Battle for Middle Earth. I feel like, because I mean,
here's the thing. The reason why I think it's that is because in the end, while they do have the Lord of the Rings idea and they do have the aesthetic, they don't quite feel like Lord of the Rings as much.
Yeah.
It's not a huge difference, but that difference for us who really love Lord of the Rings is the biggest difference. Still.
And of course, it has the Lord of the Rings environment with these games, but even outside of that, the game itself is great. It has the asymmetry, it has the power system that was really fun to use. The heroes, as Nego is saying, it felt so rewarding to be able to upgrade your heroes, and it had the asymmetrical factions really well done. The Orc spam, the Goblin spam, or Isengard with a very strong Uruk-hai upgrades, and the elves with the And the final thing is...
I just play Rohan Cavalry, that's all I do.
I was about to say two things. First of all, no game has done cavalry chargers better than Lord of the Rings Battle for Middle-earth. Those were so satisfying.
So here's the thing, they're unrealistic. If you want more realistic kind of cavalry charges, you play Age of Empires 4. I would say that.
Yeah.
And they're also satisfying. I think that they're also good. But this is a fantasy.
Yes.
Fast space of fiction. They could go crazy with it, and I appreciate it because it felt so good.
Yeah, and...
I also, sorry, I don't wanna answer a question. Total War games count sort of as RTS games because you do have real-time battles, but I would say overall they are more like turn-based strategies. That's at least my take.
I think they're kind of their own genre. I feel like it's
Yeah,
strange. Calling
yeah.
them an RTS is strange.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but yeah, we are
Okay.
talking about the cavalry charges. That's something. One of my dreams is to become a fantasy author, and one thing we talk
Yeah.
about is sometimes we think about technical things like good writing. One thing that's very important is being cool, being awesome, being spectacular.
Yes.
And Battle for spawning a Balrog. That felt so
Yeah.
badass. You felt great.
Yeah.
Having Gandalf level 10 and doing the Word of Power and having that ring
Yeah.
blasting everyone around you, clearing an entire army, summoning the army of the dead. I could go on and on. Having the marching with ants.
Yeah, marching with that, summoning the army of the dead, so many really cool things. And listen, how would the world work if the most famous and played esports RTS was a Lord of the Rings game? God damn, that... I mean, how would the world work? I don't know, but it would... I think just by that fact alone, even if everything else was the same, it would be a better world.
Yes.
Oh,
Imagine
cinematic games, man.
having a pro tournament setting and you could do like one of Theoden's speech before doing a Rohirrim charge and things like that.
Oh,
The immer-
yeah.
Uh, yes. Those games
yeah.
were so. Yeah, I'm glad you remember talking about that franchise because it was a blast. And we're
Yeah.
talking about how you can reinvent the RTS genre. The economy is unique. You need to conquer space to have your economy is proportional to your space, and you only have one single resource. For example, that already makes it a different experience from both Starcraft and Age of Empires, because in Age of Empires and Starcraft, expansion is the pace that you expand is dictated by resources running out.
Yeah, but you essentially have infinite resources
Yeah,
in Lord of the Rings, but you have to make them at the right time and capture specific points to get the extra resources.
yes, and also
Uh,
map control translates directly into number of resources. Map
Yes.
control is very so already. As we talked about being different within the genre, Lord of the Rings is a very unique experience. Very
Yes.
unique game.
Yes. Absolutely. If you can somehow get your hands on it and make it work on a modern system, and we shall not discuss how that is possible, but you could do it. I believe I'm saying this for the both of us that we recommend it to everyone to just go ahead and try it. It's worth trying it and seeing if it sticks for you.
Yeah, and even now, I don't know if you still accompany the game. There's some mod packs like the Add-in mod and things like that. Even nowadays for that game, there's amazing mods being released that overhaul the game, and it's incredible. It's
For sure. Yeah. I agree. Like, what can I say? I'm also, speaking of fantasy games, though, since you can go that, so I do have a question. Which campaign do you prefer in Warcraft 3? Do you prefer the Reign of Chaos campaign or the Frozen Throne campaign?
Oh.
Because my answer might shock you.
My answer is Reign of Chaos.
Oh, really?
Yes.
That's so most people. That's what I expected also from you. That's my question was a very leading question. Was that it would be Frozen Throne. And I'm also someone in terms of missions, in terms of mission design, Frozen Throne is probably better. I would say. You know, the usually expansions are better. Brood War is better. Heart of the Swarm wasn't that much better, unfortunately, but it suffered from some other issues. I think that they've had production issues with that game and some other stuff, but we'll get to that. But still, the Reign of Chaos campaign. So what I still like about the Reign of Chaos campaign is that even though it feels so expensive and like very high tier, it doesn't feel that ridiculous to me, because at least personally I have a problem with franchises that have like super insanely high tier level settings. You know, for example, Halo. I can't wrap my head around Halo because they are speaking in terms that are basically they're really impossible to comprehend. And also I really hate the Flood. The Flood is absolutely like it's the Tyranids or the Zerg, but absolutely like horrible, like much more horrible, much more horrific than either of those. And I also don't like Warhammer 40k as well. I do kind of like Warhammer Fantasy, don't get me wrong, but Warhammer Fantasy has basically the same setup, except it's much lower level, so I can actually enjoy it. But
yes,
there are Warhammer 40k RTS. There is the Dawn of War series.
Dawn of War, exactly.
The problem is that Dawn of War 1 is a broken, buggy mess. Dawn of War 2 is a very good game. You could probably enjoy Dawn of War 2. Dawn of War 3 is a decent game that just kind of failed in its design, didn't quite capture the game, I think, as well as it should have. I haven't really played the games, like, they're not my thing. This is what I'm saying from, like, the perception that I see. Like, it's a decent game, but it just didn't, I guess, feel like Warhammer 40k well enough.
Yeah, I played them, so yeah.
You played it,
what you are saying, absolutely correct.
Okay, so yeah, that's you know, I do pay attention to that kind of thing. So you know, because it is a shame because funnily enough, the same team that made Age of Empires 4, like same game director, creative director, and everything, they were the ones who made Dawn of War 3. Yeah, that's the same team.
I feel like Dawn of War 3, if I remember correctly, there was a time where RTS games were... We are talking about how they can innovate. I feel like there was...
Is that the worst time for RTS games? That's also true.
Yeah, it was the worst time, and they were all innovating in the wrong way. I think it's also around the time that Command & Conquer 4 released. Tiberian Twilight.
Oh, yeah.
And that one, I was a huge fan of the Command & Conquer franchise. That one, Red Alert 3 was not my favorite game. I feel like the franchise was starting to go downhill, but I understand how people can enjoy it. It's not the game for me.
Yeah, Red Alert 3 is fine.
Yeah,
it's
but
fine.
When Tiberian Twilight released, I was like, this game causes me physical pain, the existence of this game.
Let's just stop talking about it. That game doesn't exist.
Yes.
So, I will actually say one thing. You mentioned Mechabellum here. I think Direct Strike and Mechabellum are basically the same thing. They're pretty much like the same thing. It's just, you know, a different setup. Mechabellum is trying to be its own game, but it's the same kind of subgenre. But yeah, possibly also that. I don't know too much about Warhammer 40k. Yeah, it's a shame how that ended with both Command & Conquer and, you know, Dawn of War. Yeah, unfortunately. I do want to say, to go back to the co-op stuff and the not co-op stuff, but the mod stuff. Dota is not actually the first Dota game.
Yeah, it was from Starcraft, right?
Yeah, Aeon of War.
Yeah, exactly. I also know my facts.
I know that, you know, I'm not necessarily sure that chat knows, but like Dota is basically a recreation of that specific mod, and it got mega popular. Like I know that everyone, even in my region here, everyone was playing Dota. You know, everyone would try to play Dota. I was never that much into it. I don't dislike MOBAs, but I think the MOBA that I like the most is actually the one that's for some freaking reason least beloved, and that's Heroes of the Storm.
Yes, it's the best MOBA. I agree. We are on the same page.
Because, so here's the thing. What the League of Legends players and Dota players want is the same map, that only the heroes change, and like stuff with balance and shop changes. Heroes of the Storm genuinely tried to innovate and improve the genre. You know, made more maps, a variety of objectives. It is so well designed, but that's not what the MOBA players want, and that's why it failed.
And one thing I loved about Heroes of the Storm is that, I mean, there's a lot of elements that go into those games, like the strategy element, the team. Since last hitting minions, I hate last hitting minions. Since all of those tiny details are irrelevant, you just got to be there to soak the experience, and experience is shared by the team. So a lot of the painful micro things are not relevant. So my focus in the game is always, what's my team doing? What's the objective? It's much more team-based. It's a team game. It's not... I feel like LoL and Dota at super high competitive levels are a team game, but at lower levels, the 1v1 aspect of the game is very high. While in Heroes of the Storm, the 1v1 aspect is it exists, but it's very insignificant. The team aspect is much more... I love Heroes of the Storm. I'm with you. It was my favorite MOBA by far, by a huge margin.
Same still. It's just that it's better for casual players. I can see it not being as good necessarily for competitive players because technically you have a lot more randomness. So you know, I can see that Dota and League of Legends would be the more competitive ones, but that's the thing. Even for the more casual players, although that's maybe also just because of the whole perception thing. Oh, Heroes of the Storm sucks, and that's how it went in their communities.
Yeah, and
I don't know. I'm just guessing. And that it didn't attract as much casual player base as it really should have been able to. But you know, sometimes shit happens. You know, that's how it goes. Tower defense was, I believe, actually born from a sort of a joke map, essentially, for Warcraft 3, if I recall correctly. Like that was like the first proper tower defense map, and from there it went, huge as well. Like the entire tower defense genre basically rests on that one map, and it's still probably the best tower defense.
Yeah, what was the name? I know the tower defense you are talking about, but I'm not remembering the name.
I don't remember the name either. It's like it's in what's it called? The Frozen Throne, when you're trying to escape with the Blood Elves.
Yeah.
That map, yeah. And in general, I also want to say the Reign of Chaos campaign is also my favorite. I really love because they have a certain, they have a proper start, they have a proper finish. The game never goes too insane with the lore and what you end up doing. Yes, you have a lot of lore, you get to meet a lot of cool characters, you get to see a lot of heroes and villains, and that's great, awesome. Arthas' Journey, mwah.
Yes.
One of the best character arcs written in the games. I'm not saying that other tower defense games are bad, but I don't know if you've played that map. I imagine you have since you're an RTS gamer, but just try it again. You'll see what it is. In general, just like the whole campaign, how they get to Kalimdor, Thrall and Jaina becoming friends, working together. Eventually, all three factions becoming like not quite friends, but at least allies that can cooperate. The unit designs. I really love Warcraft 3's unit designs,
Yeah.
and I will also say that I don't think it's as painful to play Warcraft 3 with 12
Yeah.
12 units in control, because the units actually have a very high cap
Yeah.
with population. And the population cap is also very small, so you don't actually get to play with as many units. Like usually, I have like maybe 2 full control groups of units, and that's that. And you don't really need generally more, at least in my experience. But yeah, Warcraft 3 just it was still, even if it wasn't necessarily like the origin of some of the mods and subgenres that it spawned. It was still the one that popularized them and that made them mega popular,
Yeah, I
like
think
so
it's
good.
I if StarCraft 2 is the best RTS, I think Warcraft 3 is the most important RTS there is. I
Yeah.
think it's the most defining, the highest cultural impact, and
And the guys come to it, like you got the, in this case official, you got World of Warcraft. Need to say anything else? Just with World of Warcraft. You have World of Warcraft, you have Dota, tower defense games, like all of those other games, Auto Battlers, Tug of Wars, like a bunch of other stuff made with Warcraft 3's editor in particular. It was super huge. And again, even if people didn't play Warcraft 3, they ended up playing World of Warcraft. And that, by extension, got them at least somewhat familiar with like a lot of other genres and subgenres. And actually, I have a funny story, although it's not my story, but the Lore Runner, who is my favorite streamer,
yes.
definitely should check him out. So he's older than me, he's older than I think either of us, and he's been around the block. He's played the MMOs, like even some of the first MMOs, like Asher on Skull, I believe, which is super old MMO. He was like a huge fan of it, and because of his pedigree, he was in alphas and betas of games, and he was actually part of a team working, I think in his case as a playtester, for an MMO that I think also never got released. And they were developing it, it was going well. And then he got into the alpha for World of Warcraft. And he told the team, nah, fam, we can just give up. Like, World of Warcraft is gonna destroy everything. And he was correct.
Yeah. I remember.
Reforged hurt a lot. I refunded Reforged. I initially wanted to get it, and then I refunded it with more details and a lot of other shit.
I have drawings from when I was school student. During art classes, teachers were like, "Oh, draw like flowers or something." I was drawing Arthas and characters from Warcraft, all my kid drawings. So that game was really, and Reforged hurt me a lot. But I also I want to share a fun World of Warcraft story.
Yep.
Now I'm in my room streaming, but I used to be more of a basement dweller. And I had my...
I mean, aren't we all? Even if not literally, we're all spiritually based.
Yes, I'm not a spiritual, but back then I was a literal basement in the cavement dweller, and I got my hands onto WoW for the first time. There was a party at my house and I completely ignored. I was like, no, I just want to play. And it was during the winter and we had a very strong heater for the first time. And the door that was right next to me was catching fire because of the heater. The thing is, I was so involved into WoW. People upstairs were like, wait, there's smoke in the house, what's happening? I was right next to the source of the fire. The door was smoking, it's still charred. I still have that door with a huge piece of black wood there. And I was so focused in WoW that people had to come from, oh, the door is burning, don't you notice it? I'm like, I'm grinding. I'm playing WoW. Who cares about the door burning?
Understandable.
I think I usually I'm not that kind of person to get completely obsessed, absorbed. WoW, when I first played it, it had that effect on me. I was consuming that. That was that's my funny WoW story, the burning door. I never shared this one.
It's valid. The burning door expansion name. I mean, not that far off from the actual expansion name, the Burning Crusade, I believe.
Yes.
So, unfortunately for me, I didn't have internet until like 2009. A year later, we got flat internet, thankfully. It wasn't that much more expensive. So, I never got to play WoW when it was the best time for me to play WoW, in the sense that I would enjoy it and end up falling in love with the genre. Because like right now I just can't really enjoy MMORPGs. I've played FF14 for the story mostly, and for me the FF14 story peaked with Heavensward, and you know, I've played more, but I've not quite gone back to it. I'm not that interested anymore. But like you know, maybe if I had played WoW back then, I would have also been hooked on MMOs. But I quite literally couldn't. We didn't have internet here at all, basically. So there wasn't really you know, I couldn't play. And when we did get internet, the games that I played were Starcraft 2. I've played. I wanted to play Diablo 3. I didn't really get to play it as much. I could have also gotten more into that genre, but I kind of fell out of love with it. Have you played Titan Quest? You know, same genre as Diablo. That one was huge in mid 2000s. But yeah, never mind that. I played Starcraft 2, I've played Dragon Age, I've played a lot of RPGs and, you know, some other stuff. So, you know, that's more or less when I fully formed as, you know, as a gamer. You know, some management games. I used to play a lot of Football Manager.
Oh, nice. I've never gotten into Football Manager, but I'm from Portugal, so everyone around me is insane about Football Manager. Sometimes I hop into my friend's Discord, and when it's like, they go by spikes, it's like they spend like 6 months without playing, and then suddenly, okay, let's go into Football Manager, and they are screaming, why didn't they score? Why?
And that goes for like a week, and then you're like, okay, you know, I've played enough of it, and it's just
so
that's pretty much it.
I'm not inside Football Manager, but I live it through everyone else around me because
through
I'm Portuguese.
Osmosis,
Through osmosis, exactly.
In my case, there's not that many nerds here who play Football Manager. I actually got it from a friend, from one friend, and I shared it with another, but it's not that big here. Usually people just played, well, Pro Evolution Soccer before, but now probably just FIFA.
Yeah.
That's what they play. You know, we're also a football obsessed nation, so...
Yeah.
You know, obviously the Euros results have been dog shit for us so far. Absolutely dog shit.
Yeah.
We're playing totally badly.
For Portugal, it's like, I think no one knows what to expect. It's like we are sometimes amazing, other times horrible. It's very inconsistent. We could either...
You have a shit manager though. He wasn't that bad perhaps before, but his time has passed as a decent manager, I think. But that's not helping you.
Yeah, and we have that I'm not going to go too deep into the soccer, but we also have the constant conundrum of Cristiano Ronaldo, that it's like, oh, he should be on the bench, oh, he should be playing, oh, he's too important, oh, his presence, so I mean, he's so huge that no matter what they do with him, it's always the best decision and a mistake at the same time. It's a blessing and a curse.
Same for us with Luka Modric,
Yes, Modric, of course.
You know, it's how it is.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go back to RTS. We can talk about football another time. We would like that. It's sort of like I mentioned. Oh, I do have one question. Just one quick question. Who do you support in Portugal?
Who do I support in terms of team?
Football.
Football. Yeah. Football team. Sporting.
Sporting. Okay. Congratulations, you won the title last year.
Yes. True. Thank you very much. For the first time in ages.
Yeah, yeah. In my case, I support Hajduk Split, which is the club in terms of culture here, but like literally my whole region lives and breathes it. But it's a bit of a nutcase club, but you know, I'm not gonna go too deep into it. And I support Arsenal, by the way.
Yes.
Generally, like outside of it, yeah, because Arsene Wenger and all that.
Yeah.
When he was still there, but I keep. Okay, we do have. There's not going to be a football RTS, but have you seen from the recent Summer Games Fest? There was the what's it called? Oh, I have it on my wish list. Let me just check it real quick.
Okay.
There's a management game, not about football specifically, but about how does it go? It's hard to explain it. Just a second. Let me find
Okay,
it.
go ahead.
It's called Copa City. You're managing people. You're managing organizing football matches. It's not an RTS, but that is so funny. I love that idea. I want to play that so badly.
That does sound quite an interesting twist. Oh, just before
Yes.
we transition, still on the Blizzard topic, I grew up with Warcraft 3, Diablo 2 was huge for me, and Starcraft 1 and 2. And we were talking about Heroes of the Storm. Just that's one note I wanted to say that I forgot. One thing that was also bad for Heroes of the Storm was the Blizzard effect, because they were starting the leagues and they were taking traction, and then the competitive scene like got cut, and it was a huge chaos. And yeah, for me, growing
It was
up,
cut suddenly.
yeah,
I believe.
exactly. And
It was
players,
cut suddenly. Like they were having their best year and everything. They were making money, and then they were cut. Actually, Starcraft 2 was basically cut at the same time. It's just that the war chests provided enough funding to keep it going contractually as well. Mike Morkheim specifically made the new management, the new high upper management, a contract for 3 years with the money that they've gotten from war chest to keep supporting Starcraft 2. But it would have been shattered then as well.
yeah,
Otherwise.
yeah, and it's so painful to see
Yeah.
Blizzard's current fame as a company and what it has become, because I feel like for a lot of people, Blizzard never missed. It was the greatest company there was, just banger after banger, and to see what they have.
And now we have male employees stealing breastfeeding milk from prisons.
Yes.
Absolutely disgusting.
Yeah, what has happened?
Amongst other things, that's the most sensationalist one.
Yeah. No. It was.
It's
Yeah.
So, I'm normally not a fan of big companies acquiring other big companies, but Microsoft, at least as it is now, will hopefully get Activision Blizzard shit together a lot more.
Yeah, and
So-
now our games are from the same company. You are from Starcraft and I'm from Age of Empires.
Yeah,
They're the same
basically.
company.
Yeah, basically. But
Yeah.
I can't even call myself a Blizzard fan anymore.
Yeah,
You know, I just-
for sure.
The Maradona of RTS company, so true.
Yes. But
But yeah,
Blizzard's
that
tale
sucks.
causes pain. in
It
the
does
fact-
hurt.
Yeah.
It does hurt, but yeah.
Do you wanna? I don't-
Speaking of a couple of other RTSs,
Yes.
I mean, I can go for a bit longer if you
Go.
can, but
Yeah.
I want to say, since they're also in the thumbnail, we did touch briefly of Sins of a Solar Empire Rebellion, or just Sins of a Solar Empire. I had so much fun with it. The matches, they took so long, but they were so fun.
Yes.
They were so fun. I'm hoping I can get my love for the game reignited when Sins of the Solar Empire 2
Yes, it's on the way.
releases. I really want that to happen. Same with, in this case, what's the name of the game? The one that is that's meant to be a proper successor to Supreme Commander. It's called, just a second, let me scroll up here. Sanctuary Shattered Sun. That one in particular seems to be like, there are others. There's Beyond All Reason.
Yes,
But like that one doesn't have a single player mode. Not
Yeah.
really.
Yeah, it was what we were talking about a while ago, that the single player mode flashes out everything, and
you know that they make that a really good game, and that they reignite the passion, because I think you can find it, because both Supreme Commander style, or well, you could say Total Annihilation style, but maybe it's just me, I've never played Total Annihilation, but I think it's
neither.
Supreme Commander that specifically codified its brand of RTS games, not Total Annihilation. Because if you noticed, I don't know if you noticed, the first map you will see in Beyond All Reason is the iconic map, 4-player map, which, 4 players on one end of the map. There's a tiny strip in the middle.
Yes,
then
that
it winds
map.
up in, and then there's sea on the edges. Godsworn feels way too much Warhammer 40k for me. I've heard it's good. I haven't tried it.
I haven't tried it yet on Godsworn.
I've heard it's good. You should try it if you want to.
Okay.
As I said, it's not my thing. But yeah, like the first thing you'll see is that map in Beyond All Reason. I'm pretty sure that map is in Ashes of Singularity as well. 100% sure Sanctuary Shattered Sun is gonna have it. It's I think Planetary Annihilation had the right ideas, really cool ideas, but it had two things going on. It didn't release in a good state, and I prefer a less cartoony look for a game like that.
Yeah, if it's Warcraft, cartoon works.
I don't mind cartoony look per se, but it has to fit.
Yeah.
And it doesn't quite fit for a Supreme Commander-like game. Which is why I never got into Planetary Annihilation. Even though on its own, like, you can freaking destroy planets. That should look really cool, but it doesn't quite as much. It doesn't hit quite as well.
Oh, and one thing that I do, because we are talking about all of these great games, and I just reminded, one thing I love about games with a symmetric design is the soundtrack for each faction. Because Sins of a Solar Empire, when I open with Vasari, the gritty voice, the music all dark with the heavy like metal drums and everything, it just makes you feel so immersed.
Yeah. I have to re-listen to those OSTs. I actually don't quite remember. But like, if I think of OSTs, Age of Empires 4 has a good OST. It's a bit too modern, so it could be hitting harder, but it's still really good. Don't get me wrong. But like, I always think of Age of Empires 2. If I hear a note from a track from there, I'll know immediately. Age of Empires 2, Age of Mythology, more iconic.
When the trailer,
Starcraft 2 has good tracks, has some really good tracks, some that are also as iconic. Like, if you remember the Zerg one, of the final Zerg missions in Heart of the Storm, the one soundtrack. I'll send it to you. You'll probably remember it then.
Okay.
Like, that one's really good. But also Starcraft 1 soundtrack, just like top from bottom. Terran, Zerg, Protoss, like, holy shit.
For me, the Terran teams from Star.
Yeah.
That specific, it gets my blood pumping so hard. That one.
Yeah, immediately. And the Protoss one sounds so ethereal.
Yeah.
So amazing, And then the Zerg one genuinely feels a cool, disgusting, creepy.
Yes.
It's so good, and like you can just listen to those OSTs like forever. Like that's also something, asymmetrical, games like that. I would also say Lord of the Rings games, but like those also can have licensed music, and like Lord of the Rings licensed music is, also one of the best things ever out there.
Yeah.
Ride of the Rohirrim, the Rohan theme song. Those are my favorites personally, but like also everything else in general.
For me,
with the OST.
I usually prefer like lighter songs like the theme from the show and everything.
Yeah.
But for me, Lord of the Rings will always be dun-dun-dun, boom, boom, bam, bam, bam. That's with the chains.
Yes.
They use chains as instruments.
Yes.
Da-da-da. That will when I'm playing Isengard or Mordor and that starts beating, it's like
it's so hype. It's so hype. It's so hype. It's so
I'm
good.
usually more on almost all games like the good guy. I like to play with the good factions, but
no, so I like, you know.
Yeah, but that one, that theme is just bam, so powerful.
Yeah. For me, the Rohan violin theme, you know.
We need to be careful. I'm going to get copyright strike.
Yeah, sorry. It was very short.
Yeah, but I know exactly the song. Yes.
So for me, that one is the one that always is the hardest. But yeah, just I'm looking forward to hearing Age of Mythology Rituals, the remastered versions for sure.
Just when the trailer played of Age of Mythology, when we had the release on I forgot the name of the event, but we got the trailer playing, and when it started playing those key notes from the Age of Mythology team, I was like, yes! I mean, the images and everything were exciting, but that song, the moment where those notes played, it was like, yes, it's back! It was the high point for me.
I know, for sure. I do think we have two series that we have yet to mention, and then we can finally talk Age of Mythology, because that's the biggest one. We keep teasing it, and but one is in your thumbnail, which is Rise of Nations.
Yes.
One is in the thumbnail.
For me, please go. You first.
Yeah. Okay, it's a third. Rise of Nations was also really good, but I sucked at it so bad. Admittedly, I played it as a kid, but I would always end up being behind on tech, behind on resources, like in the grand campaign, I mean. I would just never be able to catch up with what the AI was doing. But it was still really fun. It's also similar to Empire Earth, you start from like Stone Age and you go to Nuclear Age, you have nukes, you have like a bunch of other stuff. And there are so many cool things with it. There's so many really, really fun things. Oh, I just remembered another series that I've made a stream recently, but I'll get to that one. So what's your take on Rise of Nations? I would also love to see a proper remaster of Rise of Nations, but I don't think it was ever as important in the zeitgeist to really get one, but which is unfortunate, but that's my take.
Yeah, for me, Rise of Nations, it's funny because my first experience with Rise of Nations was a little bit cursed because, as I said, Empire Earth was my favorite game, and when I saw the premise of Rise of Nations, I was like, oh, it will be like Empire Earth, and it's not like Empire Earth. So my first take was like, why is this not Empire Earth? Of course, this is kid brain talking, but
yeah.
Then I remembered I loved both Rise of Nations and Rise of Legends, which was, I think almost no one played Rise of Legends. I played the Rise of Legends. It's like the fantasy steampunk spin-off of Rise of Nations. I played both of them, and it's funny because what I remember from those games is that I really enjoyed them, and nowadays I remember nothing from them. I don't know why. Sometimes when you are playing, it may be a game that you don't enjoy that much, but sometimes it stays as a core memory. I don't know why. I enjoyed Rise of Nations and Rise of Legends, but I remember nothing. I remember no units. I know there's the territory things.
Me neither.
But I don't know why.
I've never played Rise of Legend. Rise of Legend feels like it had even more potential than Rise of Nations, but it completely flopped from what I understand.
Yeah, it was a huge flop. And for me, I think Rise of Legend, of course, we are talking about it. It was the first time where I saw something steampunk, and I was like, it was the first time I realized steampunk was a thing, was a genre. I love the steampunk design there. But I don't know why I don't remember nothing from either Rise of Nations or Rise of Legends. I know.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. They're good games.
Yeah. And it's funny because we both met through, I think it was Almantas mainly that made us.
Yeah, Almantas,
And Rise of Nations is Almantas' favorite RTS. I know
that. Yes.
And I'm like, I'm like, I'm sorry, Almantas, but I don't remember a single thing about the game. Sorry, it
Yeah.
erased from my mind.
Yeah, I think what helps for Almantas is that like you basically have it a lot more squad based. Essentially, it's not that I believe you get individual units, but I feel once you get to producing them, they feel a lot more squad based. They
Yeah.
feel a lot more bunched up. You're not exactly doing something. Almantas probably talked to Ryolov about it, but he hates stuff like Marine splitting against.
Yeah,
Bailey.
he hates micro.
Which
Every
is
kind
fair.
of micro he
I get
hates.
it. I get it. It's mostly because of his idea of what the strategy game should be. And let's be real, if we're being like really, really real, RTS should not be called RTS. That should actually be real-time tactics.
Yeah.
Because yes, you have a strategy, but usually the strategy is what you have when you start the game, and everything else is tactics.
Yeah.
But this is the name that stuck. This is the name that was used, and that's how it is. I will say that Almantas is like one of very unique one for that. I don't think many people really care. Although, mind you, his criticism is a valid one. But
Yes.
At least for me personally, if I don't have like a really important micro, in the sense that like both macro and micro, that the game just tends to not be as engaging. Like, I don't really like just setting units and then watching them beat each other up. That's just boring to me. Like, because then I'm only doing strategy.
And I think
But also don't like only doing tactics because I don't get to do anything strategic on a macro level. So.
And I think you probably share my sentiment on this. For example, when Almantas sees a great micro play, he says his reaction is like disgusting. When I see amazing micro in either Starcraft or Age of Empires, for example, someone with Marines splitting them and targeting the banelings, I'm like, this is so high. I love watching like super intense micro people getting.
Listen.
Yeah, it's
watching Beyond Control Reapers.
Yeah.
The Korean player Beyond.
Yes.
Literally won a world championship from that. And he can literally still win with we'll get to Battle Aces, I think.
I don't know Battle Aces.
We can still get to, oh my god, we have so many actually. The more we go, the more we remember, like there's also many other games. Beyond is actually so good. I've seen a match, a pro level, high level match, where he won a map with just Reapers.
Yeah.
Like just completely destroyed the opponent. It was insane because he's that good, and he's the only one that good with Reapers.
Yeah.
The only one. Literally everyone ever elsewhere is not able to do it. Maru, the literal best Terran player in the history of Starcraft 2, cannot do that. Which is insane. But yeah, I agree. Like micro is very impressive. But I also really like analyzing like tactical decisions. It's really funny because one of the out of the casters, the only one that I really feel is as analytical in the way that I like and the way that I am when I watch games is Pig. Oh, I don't know if you know, he used to be a pro player as well.
Yes.
Now he's like a teacher and a caster, and like when he's casting, you will really feel like the explaining like all the game knowledge and the decisions, but like properly and literally as he spots something being done, he will be able to convey it to the audience in a very analytical way, and I love it. And that's also the micro and the tactical decisions, sometimes macro can also be very impressive. Like when you watch Soul macro, the Zerg player, one of the most cursed players. Many second places, but also one of my favorites. His macro absolutely insane. And it can be very, very impressive to watch. But yeah, I agree. Micro is something like those main splits. But that's the thing. That's what I mean with that. Most players do not really care that the genre's name is essentially a misnomer.
Yeah.
It's a fair criticism that it's a misnomer, but because the term is so ingrained, and because not enough people care to change it. Because let's be real, not enough people care to change it.
Yeah.
Like even those of us who know that it's a misnomer, it's gonna stay real-time strategy. That's what it is.
Yeah, and just
So-
because you were talking about analytical casters, that's one thing that I feel like is improving my game skills a lot in Age of Empires, is because I like to be I'm casting, of course, and I like to be analytical, and
Yeah.
chat and comments demanded in a good way, not like, oh, you need no, they demanded
Yeah.
like, oh, I want you to know more to commentate more on the Civs, and I was like, ooh, I don't comment more on the Civs because I don't know more about the Civs. And they have demanded me to become a better caster, and I feel like my game skills are improving a lot because I'm becoming more analytical as a caster, and I translate that a lot to my own games. And that's because of chat
game knowledge.
demanding.
Game knowledge
game
is
knowledge.
so important. So
Game knowledge and game
that's
sense.
probably my biggest strength. I actually, if I could talk about this, is maybe something that I could also say for some other time, but maybe it's also a good place to say it. I mean, it's fine. So I actually have a real life, like nothing specific, like in that tournament. But I actually have a real life debuff. I have a certain specific condition called Shardomari Tooth, which essentially means that. This will be slightly heavy, but it's not as bad as it sounds. Okay.
Okay.
So my nerves die out slightly faster than for most people, and that means that I quite literally cannot be as fast because, like, how do I put it? I cannot control my fingers and my hands as well as someone who doesn't have this, and that puts a ceiling to my skill level in terms of my speed. I cannot be faster than I am when I, play at my highest level. At my highest level as Zerg, in Starcraft 2's APM terms, I had 230 APM. As a Zerg, you want to have 300, 350 plus. I cannot reach that because of my specific condition. It sucks. I may have been able to become a pro gamer, maybe not, who knows.
You are already such an amazing player from what you've shared even. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. My highest Mad Lass, please. But yeah, I get you. I mean, that was a community tournament, and it's not that I can't do it. It's again, those players, like at my top level, like I was 4.9k, almost 4.9k Masters player in Starcraft 2. These players are like, the best one is like 3.1k, That is a huge difference in terms of skill. And in particular, because I'm analytical in general, my game knowledge, it may not be like a Serral's, because Serral is both playing the game consistently and competitively. The best player in the world, the best Zerg in the world.
Yeah.
It is there, because again, I can analyze, not maybe exactly like Pig, but around that level, and like Pig is always in the game, commentating, casting, playing, and that's why my game knowledge is like super, super high, and it's my best trait. And I think I could have been a pretty decent player, at the pro level, I mean.
Yeah.
If not for my specific debuff. But, that is how it is. That's how the dice rolls sometimes. Yeah. And, that's also part of why I play much more co-op and casual now, because it's much harder for me to be, because it feels like a shame, that I know that I can't reach that level no matter how much I try. Yeah. My ceiling was probably like Grandmaster, just like literally reaching Grandmaster, and that's that, which is still like, that's still top 0.5% of players instead of 3%, top 3% of players that I was, but yeah.
Yeah, and thanks for sharing the story and everything. As
Yeah.
you said, I can't even imagine what it's like to go through something like that. But I mean,
And
as I said before, you are a champ regardless.
thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
But don't worry, it's really not something. It's not curable. It's not really treatable. The only treatable thing is that to have to lead a mostly healthy life. And mostly the issue is that I lose dexterity. I'm not in any pain or anything.
Yeah.
Just dexterity in my limbs is what's most affected.
Yeah.
So, just to be clear, it's not super serious. But it affects one of the things that I could have had as a career
Yeah,
that I would have genuinely loved to do.
Yeah, that's the problem, is that it targets specifically, yes. You... Yeah.
It's what it is.
It's the cards we are dealt, yeah.
Yes. But it's also still fun. I love casting games. I love being a commentator as well. I was commentating the other games at the tournament, and that was really fun.
Yeah, chat wasn't there. If you wanna see, today we are all serious talking. If you wanna see Terakawa Hana laughing her ass off completely, just watch her. For me it was contagious. You were having such a blast in commentating the lower elo players. It was so fun.
And then that player Mango in that series, those are his first 3 games ever. I've said it on stream as well then. He literally installed the game like an hour before. Like he was on some sort of a trip, I believe. I came home day before that, and he was last minute sign up. And those are first 3 games of his. And they were so fun because they were so weird that he didn't know what he was doing, but he'd read like what the units do. Like when he used the ghosts to win the game.
Yeah, I remember seeing the ghosts, yes!
It was so hype, and honestly, he could have even done much better with Protoss. He just, for some reason, in that game refused to make Nexuses at base expansions.
Mm-hmm.
Which would have helped him so much. But he had a chance to win. If he attacked when he cleaned up that first push, he wins. Better upgrades, more army, he just has to push, but fair play, obviously he can't have a killer instinct for that kind of thing.
Oh yeah, killer instinct is very important in RTSs.
Super important. You have to know when you've had a good enough trade to strike, if you were being the one who's defending. And then the third game with the Zerg expanding everywhere, going full Zerg. It was so good. It was really fun. I loved it. And the attempts and losing 30 Hydras to the Hydras. It was painful. But yeah, it was really fun. And the games against him were also, because I ended up playing against him later. They were also very fun. Like he was banking on me not scouting, so that he would do some weird shit. But obviously, I've seen the games. I've casted those games. I was like, and I know him as a character. I know he's very cursed. I know he does very cursed shit. He often cooks his rice with a tea bag, not just water. He has a tea. He puts a tea bag in.
Okay, he is cursed.
And other shit. He's cursed, yeah. So I knew I had to scout. So what did I do when I went to face him? Scouted everywhere. 2 probes on the map, just scouting, just what the hell is going on? Because in the end, like, that was still fun, because I knew that I didn't know what I would actually get. I don't know what he will do. So I had to adapt to, not just do the boring macro and defend, but also try to because I think it was also more entertaining for the audience to watch me try to find on the map what the hell is going on and constantly keeping up the scouting.
Yeah.
And then the second game, I was evil. I cannon rushed him.
Oh.
I didn't kill him. But I did cannon rush him. Because I just wanted to contain him. I just made 5 cannons, 2 on one base entrance, 3 on another, nothing else. and like I just wanted to make it, but he did sneak 2 drones out, so he was able to make a base and do some other shit, and he was trying his best. He even got a pretty decent Hydra army, but at first I was making just like zealots and sentry, but then I was like, you know what? Since we're being funny anyway, let's go carriers again. So I went with carriers, and like if you have carriers, like Hydras beat carriers in low numbers, but like if you have carriers all together, Hydras will just die.
Yeah.
So, yeah. One strat that I had prepared that I am on one hand sad that I didn't use, but on the other hand glad because then you know, maybe more people would have been mad. Was that if I went against in the final set, you know, against the final player, who was also Zerg, if I went triple Stargate Oracle. That's a very old strat, and I'm 100% sure he would not have known how to defend against it. Like, no chance.
Yeah.
No chance he would have known how to defend against that. And it would have been absolutely horrific to watch. But, you know, I decided, nah, I'm gonna play something a bit more straight up and, you know. Except for the first game, I switched to Terran then because I have... Haas, Sama, is that you? Haas wasn't the only one who was doing that. And if you, Krada and Toste, if you watched Haas versus Maru in 2016, the second biggest throw of all time in StarCraft 2's history, you've seen it all, trust me. Yeah, Haas, trust me, Haas versus Maru, you can find the game still. He had... They're such funny games. I can't even explain them right now. There's also one series before my time, which was a Polish Zerg player called Tefel versus MVP, who was like one of the original biggest pro gamers in StarCraft 2 scene. And he had like 200 supply, MVP had 60 and he lost.
Damn.
Biggest throw in StarCraft 2 history. And, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway,
just to no. I love hearing your passion when you talk about StarCraft 2. It's definitely.
I mean, in general, I have a huge passion for RTS. Trust me, not just StarCraft. I pay attention to all of the RTSs, and this is also why we haven't touched on a few. Or like, we're in the end, this stream is gonna be 4 hours in the end or something. I mean, I don't mind. I'm gonna sleep at 4 a.m. or something. I don't know about you though.
Oh, I have something scheduled for about 40 minutes from now, but if we can, if we need to stretch, we'll see. Okay. Let's keep going and we wait and see.
Let's then go back to actual like RTS discussions because like besides Bad Places, this is still a bit of a newer RTS. There are 2 others that we haven't touched on that are old school RTSs. Although one got a recent game release and it sucks. Homeworld.
Oh, Homeworld I never played. I never played Homeworld.
I've tried playing it. I think if I played it when it was initially released also as well, I would have loved it. I would have gotten so into it because it has such a cool setup. You're in space, it's a space RTS, your mothership is your base, you have asteroids as resources, you have a fully 3D vertical plane, several planes in which you can battle it out. Like, you're not moving just on a quote-unquote mostly flat map, you're like moving fully in space. And that's such a cool idea, but at this point I'm just not that interested in learning it.
Yeah.
And it's a shame that it never really quite got as popular as the others. And the other one that I'm also curious if you have ever tried, and that would be Cossacks, the Cossacks series.
I remember it. My opinion of Cossacks is the same of Rise of Nations. I remember enjoying it, and it's completely gone from my mind. I don't know why, but I remember playing Cossacks. Yes.
Yeah, I've played I think the original Cossacks or Cossacks 2, like in the PCs of the computer room, like during computer classes, back in the day. And it was fun. But I was like, they were on sale on GOG some time ago. I bought them. Like, they were like very cheap, like 1-2 euros, all of them.
Mm-hmm.
And Cossacks 3, which is the most recently released main one. And I've played it. I've played it on stream. You can find the VOD. I have it on YouTube as well.
Mm-hmm.
And the unfortunate part about Cossacks 3 is that it doesn't suck. But it lacks several things. And I don't know if you remember from, I probably don't remember, but, or maybe you do in some vague sense, but you want to play that game at faster speed. And then the units and everything, they move super fast, right?
Yeah.
They feel mega fast and it feels very fun like that. Cossacks 3, because of, I don't know what they did with the engine, even when you play on the faster setting, the game feels incredibly slow. It feels way too slow. And I did not end up enjoying it in the end.
Yeah.
I wanted to because I remembered a lot with Cossacks, but if you guys want to try it, that's fair. You should. You might like it. You might like it as well, but
Yeah.
I just really didn't like the dichotomy of how slow it felt versus how fast it felt it should be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of these games also, some of them you can get into them now and enjoy it, but I feel like a lot of them are like you were saying about the homeworld. You either get into them at the correct time, or then if you try to go back to them,
Nah,
yeah,
it doesn't work then.
It doesn't
Yeah.
work. I'm thinking, I know I've played more RTS franchises before, besides the ones we've talked about. I'm thinking if there's any I bet after we end the stream we're going to remember like 3 or 4 very important franchises that we forgot or something like that.
I think we've more or less covered all of them. We've covered even Dawn of War. We've talked some about Command and Conquer. Again, legendary games, Red Alert 1, 2, absolutely legendary games. Unfortunately, never did really get the chance to play them. Don't even want to try the original. I'm sorry, even in the remaster version, just no, not interested. We can mention Doom 2 as the progenitor of. I've actually never heard of. Oh, but I have another very obscure one. I will check out. I've heard Tsar Burden of the Crown. Never really played it. I've never heard of Arimes of Mexico, but I have one. I wonder if you guys know of it. I really do. It's called Submarine Titans.
I haven't heard about Submarine Titans. That's for sure.
That's an old one. That's also like I think 1999 or 2000. So here's the thing. It's basically a Starcraft copy. In a lot of ways, but it has one most cool feature, most cool aesthetic with it. I mean, it's Starcraft because of the factions, Well, 2 of the factions are more or less similar. One is very different, but the main premise of the game and how the game works is that the gameplay, everything, revolves on the ocean floor. That's why it's called Submarine Titans. You're essentially fighting like ocean depth,
That's
underwater.
an interesting concept.
It is such a cool concept. It was never really a big thing. I wish someone would make a game like that again. I think it would be really fun. Just make it a bit faster, and make it asymmetrical factions, similar resources. It will be such a cool idea. I think it will pop off very much. Well, it might pop off, I don't know.
That reminded me of a topic we haven't talked about, and I just wanted to touch upon briefly. It's a topic that overarches a lot of RTSs. What's your opinion in general about naval combat in games that are clearly meant for example, Age of Empires has naval combat, Lord of the Rings had naval combat. What's your opinion on it in general? Or
that's complicated.
Yeah. I was
because
thinking...
here's the thing.
Yes.
Here's the thing. So So first up, if you because you can have the same, there was naval combat in Lord of the Rings. Not much of it, but some.
Yeah.
So you could say the same question with air combat. However, air combat is so much easier to do because you do not have to. It's air, you know.
Yeah, and
it's not quite.
And it's not exclusive because usually in most games, once you have water, the water is one thing, the land is on the other, and they don't interact. And I feel that's.
But the thing is, it's very hard to make them interact. I think the only way that the only real RTS subtype that can make that work is a Supreme Commander type game.
Yes.
Because how the maps work and how the factions work, and you have both land, air, ground. You have units that can go both on land and on sea and stuff like that. So, in that kind of a way it works. For most of the others, the problem is that in the end, most of the game is about the land combat. So even if you make a decent naval combat kind of a thing, it will not actually work well enough. Like Age of Empires 4 actually has pretty decent naval combat. I don't know. I don't think you've played the most recent.
No.
The expansion, the Rise of Sultans, or what's it called again? I don't. Something like that. There is a mission. So it's not just naval combat. It's a naval, or basically only naval focused mission. You basically only do, like, you do some land stuff, but it's mostly naval mission. And it's a really good mission because it's so naval focused. You have a way, so you know how to do it. Trust me, you should play the expansion. The mission design is on Starcraft 2 level.
That's pretty high praise.
That's insanely high praise. And mind you, the original campaigns had really good mission design. Don't get me wrong. But this is Starcraft 2 level, what they did with these. But even so, in terms of general gameplay, like, on one hand, you lose a dimension, so I kind of don't want them to remove it, but also it'll just never be as popular.
Yeah. I feel like if it... because of course, I asked you this question and I was thinking about this a lot because it's a question that emerged in my talk with Almantas, and I've been thinking about this. Yeah, what I think is if the naval combat feels like something that was like, okay, we have land, now let's add naval as a last minute thing or something. You do feel like that as a player, and I feel like you talked about air. That is exactly what I was going to get. I feel like in order for naval combat to work at its best, you also need to have air. I feel like the trifecta. Of course, you can make amazing naval combat without air, but I feel like the reason why Supreme Commander shines, Command and Conquer can also make naval combat work, not as well, but. And I feel like most games that make Empire Earth has good naval combat, and it's because of the time period that has the air going into it. And Age of Empires can't get air or hybrid, like land and water at the same time.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's by having air and hybrid things, by meshing the elements together, that you make them work. And I feel like because of the time period, Age of Empires is hindered by that. They can't integrate. I
wish Starcraft 2 or Stormgate. I want to touch a bit about Stormgate as well. Wish that they had naval combat because I think that would potentially improve the Blizzard RTS, if you want to call it like that, subtype. But it doesn't, so they don't, which is unfortunate. But yeah.
Yeah, because I feel like you can do. If you have air, then you can, and I feel like StarCraft is a perfect landscape for having naval battles.
Yeah. Definitely.
But
I mean, I'm pretty sure Warcraft 3 has some stuff you can do with navies.
Yeah, but it's more.
StarCraft 2 doesn't, which is so silly.
Yeah, and Warcraft 3 it's more like Age of Empires. It's more fantasy. I mean,
it
units, but it doesn't have that dynamic.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true.
You already have a map for all the units. There are several maps, but yeah, I know.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you knew in StarCraft 2, I don't know when you specifically left the scene, but there are several PvP underwater maps.
Yes.
So when units die, they float.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I still play that. Yes, I still.
Abyssal Reef.
Yes, I remember
is the
that map. I
you
remember
broke.
that
Yeah.
map.
Yeah, iconic map, legendary.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I agree. It's basically that. Unfortunately, even if you make it decent, it will still feel like an afterthought unless the missions or the maps are specifically only about naval combat or almost mostly about naval combat. And, you know, it's unfortunate, but we'll see what, Sanctuary Shattered Suns will do with that. I hope it will be very, very good.
Yeah, and also we have the game that we'll talk about in the end, Age of Mythology, also has different naval combat and a different take on it.
It does. I think it actually has probably pretty good naval combat, but almost no one will really experience it because no one will really care too, let's be real.
Yeah.
Okay, because I like Silas, for example, the unit. Okay, but we'll get to that, because I do want to quick fire at least like a couple of the newer games.
Okay, go ahead.
So, have you tried Tempest Rising demo?
No. When you start hitting me with new games, sorry, but I...
Tempest Rising is a newer game. It is pretty much... It's a Command and Conquer clone.
Mm-hmm.
You know, whether you consider it a General's clone or a CNC3 Tiberium Wars clone.
Yeah, I've seen the game.
I think it's a bit more. I think it's a bit more like CNC3 because I don't know that Generals had a Tiberium-like resource. A Tempest is basically Tiberium. You know, I've played the demo. I've enjoyed the demo a lot. It feels very smooth to play, very modern to play. It was mostly an escort mission, not really base building. But you know, it was good. You know, it was one mission, it was demo. I don't like the character designs, but I hope that they'll be VIP because they're trying to do the whole FMV thing. But you know, the movies, the movie like cutscenes.
Yeah.
But they're doing it with create a character models. But since they don't have that much budget, they don't look that good. So I think it will be worth playing. But you know, the FMVs are one of the most legendary. Kane lives.
Kane lives in death.
Yes, Kane lives in death, or oppressors must die. I remember that was so clearly. And also, I think out of any FMV game, any game with FMVs, Red Alert 3 has the best FMV in history.
Yes.
One specific one. Do you know which one I'm referring to? The one specific FMV.
You'll need to...
I'm going to escape to the one place that capitalism hasn't corrupted. Space!
Yeah, yes! I remember that cutscene. I love how, like, in Red Alert 2, for example, you have a mix between goofy and seriousness. I like how in Red Alert 3 they went all out on the silliness. They just went full blast.
Even Tim Curry. By the way, that was actually the first take. They did do more takes after it, but that was the first take. That was the one that ended up picking. Even Tim fucking Curry couldn't. You can see how he's trying not to laugh because it's such a silly name, but it's so funny. So iconic. I quote it all the time. It's so good.
That one's so good.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't think Tempest Rising will be able to quite manage that kind of thing because they just don't have the budget, which is unfortunate. But I think it will be a good game. I hope, like, the demo was really good. Hopefully, it releases, you know, later on. So, have you seen about?
Go on. my worst thing about this modern game is the names. I mean, for example, you talked about
Yeah.
Tempest Rising. I thought I knew nothing about the game, and now I know exactly what the game is. I'm so bad with the names
Yeah.
of modern games. But yeah, go
No
ahead.
worries. I mean, you don't play them as much, obviously. They haven't really released. You know, once they release and you've played them, they'll probably stick more.
Yeah.
So, have you seen Battle Aces on during Summer Games Fest?
No, that one I'm even watching now images. That one I know nothing about.
So that one is actually developed, I'm pretty sure, in South Korea, by a team led by David Kim.
Yeah.
Save us, David Kim! You're our only hope. So you can watch the trailers. The game. So the thing with the game is that it looks fun.
Yeah.
It genuinely looks fun. It
I'm
looks like it
watching
will be a fun
screens.
game. I've signed up for the closed beta. However, I think the monetization is going to suck. Because if you see some other screenshots, or some other things in the trailers, you'll see how there are like units that are that have this sort of payment system that you'll be trying to get. It might have gacha-like mechanics. I don't know if you play gacha games.
Yes,
I do, but
I also
I
do.
would rather not have. I would rather not have gacha mechanics in RTS games. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like, I don't mind gachas being gachas in gacha games.
Yeah, exactly.
Obviously, but in RTS, I'm just like, I'm gonna go freaking crazy. So, I'm hoping the game will at least be fun. Besides that, I'm not expecting that much from Battle Aces, which, you know, again, hopefully it'll be a good game, that's at least, but, you know. Then there's Stormgate. Have you had a chance to play Stormgate?
No, I've watched a lot of Stormgate, but I myself haven't played it.
Okay, so I mean, I'm technically breaking the NDA because I got into the closed beta like a while ago, but the early access is soon, and there was always preview. I guess I probably can't talk about the third faction on stream. That's why I won't. You've probably seen the name of it. I can't really talk about the mechanics of it. I've tried it. I've enjoyed it. That's all I will say. Although I don't think they're watching this, or that there will be much impact from this stream, if I'm being honest, but still.
Who knows? Who knows? Maybe
Um,
we'll both go viral,
knows?
5 million views.
Maybe. I mean, it will be worth it because I don't plan on playing Stormgate ever again. But that has nothing to do with the gameplay mechanics. But I can talk a bit about the game, I think, because, you know, I've been in the various betas, I've tried out stuff. The co-op is fun. There's only been 2 maps, and there are things that are not quite balanced properly yet, but I have good ideas. Definitely still kind of building on top of the same things that Starcraft 2 has done with the maps. You know, because they are meant to be like the core of the co-op experience. But it does feel that they're not investing as much into it as I would like. Like, it definitely feels like the least important part, even if they say that co-op is like meant to be like one of the main things, and it will be a big thing, don't get me wrong, but just, you know, it doesn't feel that big. It doesn't feel as big as it should, because that's literally the most played mode of Starcraft 2. Like, I don't know the numbers now, but last time I watched the numbers, in Starcraft 2, up to 10,000 players would play PvP monthly. Up to 200,000 players play co-op monthly.
I play more co-op
You know-
than PvP, so I'm one of those.
Yeah, exactly. So, but besides that, what I can say is that, you know, the gameplay is fine. The gameplay is very much fluid. It feels, you know, it feels like StarCraft in that sense. The units have a lot more HP. It has a bit of, you know, there's a bit of Warcraft feel to them. They have a lot more abilities that are like active or, you know, inactive. The Vanguard faction, the human faction, is very much like Terran. There are some unique aspects to it, but they are so Terran coded, it's kind of boring. Although, like, the co-op commander for the Vanguard is actually pretty much the Paladin from Warcraft 3.
Oh.
Like, basically outright Paladin from Warcraft 3. The abilities are the same, you know. It's actually kind of silly. Then there's the Infernals, who have been previous year, and you can see them, which uh, they are kind of like Zerg, but not quite. The production is different because, like, with Zerg, you had to wait more with, with the larva mechanics and stuff. But because here instead you have charges, unit charges, and then you can, you can immediately spawn like 20 units. No, it's a bit different. It's kind of like waiting for the larva, but instead of the larva then hatching into an egg and then waiting for that, they immediately spawn. So, it's a bit faster.
Mm-hmm.
And the creep mechanic is actually, it gives shields to units. If you're on the creep, you get shields. You don't get the speed, you cannot spread creep. Well, they call it the shroud, but it's creep basically. You could see that they were trying something new, and they're pretty decent. Unfortunately, their aesthetic is pretty much demon faction, which kind of sucks. And unfortunately, I can't talk about the third faction because it's technically not, officially released. You will be able to see it in a month.
Okay.
Yeah. Not on stream. I've mentioned that that there may or may not have been some insider info. Anyway, the reason why I'm saying this to you guys in chat, and I've told it in my server and in Lorunner's server, why I don't think Stormgate is worth supporting, unfortunately, is because of its very, 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 very sucky monetization. And we'll compare that with something in Age of Mythology later, but I'll get to that one as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, when they've shown news, when they've said, yeah, this is what we're making, this is Stormgate, they said that they had the funding for the game, the complete game, that they will not need any more funding, and that the game will only later, that it will have some monetization stuff, similar to how Starcraft 2 probably is, but more aggressive, I would guess. Because, making money, it's a thing. But then they released a Kickstarter, and I was fine with the Kickstarter for the most part, because ostensibly they were saying that their goal was to give people physical copies. That's like the main thing with supporting it on Kickstarter. And that's fine. They've had stretch goals. They've actually earned like more than $2 million, I think, or about that, for the Kickstarter, which is pretty decent because, like, apparently the original budget was like $5.5 million.
Yeah.
From venture capital. So pretty decent funding. Although what I disliked were some of the stretch goals. One of the stretch goals was advanced co-op customization, and like those three words together, you don't know which one carries more weight there. Advanced probably, because we have no fucking clue what that means. But that was something that I had like a stink eye on. I didn't like that. I felt that any sort of advanced co-op customization needed to be immediately in the game as part of the base funding, if they at least wanted to match Starcraft 2's co-op,
Yeah.
Because in the end, it doesn't matter how co-op was when it released, it matters for people comparing it to how it is now. So if what they meant with advanced co-op customization was, for example, prestiges, and just prestiges, that is still a huge difference. Everyone would say it's shit that there's no prestiges, the equivalent of prestiges. But anyway, that aside, so let's go with the monetization further. Then they said that they have had an Indiegogo fundraising for extra funds. If anyone else wants to support, if anyone else wants a physical copy, you can support on Indiegogo. And I'm like, okay, that feels a bit much at this point, doesn't it? It's getting really shady at this point. But I'm still willing to give them, okay, I was still in the game. I was enjoying it. And then, if you guys go and check the Steam store page for Stormgate, you will see that you can pay for 2 weeks early access, the cheapest option being $25 or euros, up to $60. You technically, yes, you get some more stuff. You get like, I don't know, one hero and maybe some story chapters that will not be released when the early access is released, by the way, as far as I understand. And that has just made me just go, yeah, no, fuck this shit.
Yeah.
Because like they've had an extremely successful Kickstarter. They made 20 times more than they asked. They asked for $100,000 for the Kickstarter.
Yeah.
You know, whether they put it intentionally, quote unquote, that low or not, I don't know. But you know, it's so different. And then the Indiegogo, and then this kind of thing with the pre-order, with the main thing being the early access, when you'll get the early access for free.
Yeah.
And I just hate it. I just really hate it. So, Stormgate might be a good game. You might want to play it. That's more than fine. I would say best to not play it.
Yeah. Keep
Do
a
not support it, yeah.
skeptical attitude at least.
Yeah,
Yeah.
keep being skeptical, and you know, we'll see later. And I think we're finally at Age of Mythology.
Yes,
Finally?
I think yeah.
Finally.
Yeah, but
We
finally, but it's not like we wanted to rush. It's been a good journey.
Yes.
So far.
It's been a good journey. It's been a very good journey.
I'm having a blast.
If you want, I know that you have an obligation, and I know that you can do it a bit later. But if you want, we can take a short break. You know, go to the bathroom, and you know, just have one final segment on Age of Mythology.
Okay, yeah. I think it's a
So
good idea.
that's-
Yeah. Let's take. That's
Perfect.
a good idea. Quick break. Be right back, chat.
Exactly. Be right.
Hello, hello.
We're back. We're back. Hello, hello.
We're back.
Finally, the segment we've been building up all stream.
Yes, finally we have Age of Mythology.
Age of Mythology. Such a nostalgia game.
We are very hyped. I think everyone is hyped.
Chat, are you hyped? Before we even cover this stuff, are you hyped for Age of Mythology Retold? Please tell me. Are you hyped for Age of Mythology Retold?
I will let you talk to chat because I forgot to set up the audio.
Okay.
Now it should. Okay.
Perfect.
Wasabi, Nego, everyone's hyped for. I'm also so hyped for Age of
Mythology. Yeah. Trust me, I'm too. Ever since I heard about it, I was like, hell yes, please. Especially because initially, I don't know how much you guys paid attention to the release material and other stuff, but initially they've just shown the mostly remade intro cutscene, or at least a bit of the intro cutscene remade, and just Age of Mythology Retold. Nothing else. We didn't know anything. So we didn't even know if it would be a remaster, if it would be a remake, what it would be. But now we know that it's pretty much a remake.
Yeah, it's a remake and it's looking amazing. And
yes.
Even from gameplay features, I mean, we are about to see a video of Nexotic talking about the game. There's so many videos now popping up talking about the gameplay loop and everything, comparing Age of... And I'm feeling like since this last release was made, I feel like it's starting to snowball, the hype. I feel everyone is getting on board. As they should,
honestly, because it looks amazing.
And do you want to play the video by Nexotic? I mean, I'm playing it, but...
No, you play it.
I'm going to start it, and we're going to pause maybe at some key points to talk. And also not to have the video playing from start to finish. But yeah, this is a video from Nexotic, and of course, feel free to check the video.
It's a summary, more or less, of everything that we know about the game.
Yes, and tell me, chat, if audio should be fine, but please let me know.
Well, yeah. The change in the graphics. You can immediately see the remade models.
Chat is already saying that there's no audio. No, because I set up the audio in the wrong scene. Wait.
It's fine.
I mean, it's...
Don't worry about it. You can fix it.
Oh yeah, and chat saying turn off my BGM. Yeah, that's probably for the best.
Yeah, probably, yeah. I know a good chunk of people who only play the AOM and not AOE or Starcraft, and they're happy. I mean, of course, I believe all Age of Mythology players are super high for it. I am an old school Age of Mythology player as well. Never played it competitively, but still, I know how it feels to feel the hype again with this. Hopefully everything's ready now.
Yeah, I think it is. Sorry.
Age of Mythology went from this to this and will soon look like this. It has been a while since I've made any Age of Mythology content, but a lot more information has come out related to the newest game in the series, Age of Mythology Retold.
But then
this video will get you back up to speed in only a few
everything
minutes.
Is remade.
Age of Mythology Retold is releasing to PC and Xbox consoles on September the 4th, 2024. Players with the premium edition will have 7 days early access and, as such, will be able to play starting on the 28th of August. Veteran Age of Mythology players will know their way around this game for sure, but you shouldn't be surprised if a lot of
all of the civs.
All of them.
When we get to the interface, please pause on the interface.
Yes,
because the interface in particular
all of the civs look stunning. And yeah, of course, for me who lives in Age of Empires, asymmetry. Yes. And I like how they have asymmetry and also choices that Age of Empires 4 also has it with the landmarks, are they called, I think? the buildings that
Yeah, the landmarks, Age of
Yeah.
Empires 4. You have landmarks, you have more unique units, you have, more unique factions, they focus. Like, even if those things lead to the same thing, like, French economy works one way, you have these specific markets, I believe, and, you can build it that way. But then you have the Mongols, and the Mongols rely heavily on traders, and those traders fulfill the same function, but it ends up working very differently, and you feel like you're playing a very different civilization.
Yeah.
Or the Malians. Malians are a civilization you've not experienced, I think. But what they do is that they build on top of the gold mine, and you do not have to actually mine it because you will get passive gold income.
Oh, that's awesome, man. That feels like something
and
out
the
of
more
Warcraft,
houses,
not out of Age of Empires.
yeah. Exactly, and the more houses you build around it, the more passive income you get.
Yeah,
it's so funny. It's so good,
And here you also have the gods that
God powers.
The god powers, and you also have 3 gods per civ, and also when you age up, you also select a minor god. So even though you have the 3 big factions, and I think we will have an Oriental faction added later, and then there's another one already planned as a DLC. Yes, I'm keeping track of everything regarding this game.
Same.
But yeah,
we'll talk about all of
just
that.
the fact that you have the minor gods and everything just makes every game so unique. But yeah, I'm going to continue the video.
Details or characteristics.
Next pause is probably best with the interface.
Buildings are different
when they show
compared to
the
the
interface, because
originals
that's
or
what I
the
will focus
extended
a lot
edition.
on.
Based on footage shared in podcasty style live streams, some units and buildings.
Yeah, this is
just looking at everything. No. They'll show in the stream. They'll show like the proper. There we go. There we go. They're around there. That's where I wanted it to. Like you can see the top bar with the resources. In the bottom left, how it works, the way the units. You can actually go back a bit.
Yeah.
Like 2 seconds.
You have the delay. I already pulled it back. Yes.
Sorry. Unfortunately, it is how it is. But like, it just looks really cool. It still looks Age of Mythology. It looks a bit, a bit more modern.
Yes.
But it still has the hallmarks of a Mythology one, like the unit, the banners, like for idle units, groups in the top right, how everything looks. And like this is like this specific screen, how the interface looks.
Yeah.
It's made me extremely hype because it feels Age of Mythology and it feels more modern and it feels so good.
And the video will touch upon it, and that's also one of the things I'm more excited about, and I will expand about it in a moment. But yeah, I think any RTS gamer knows how important UI is. I think all gamers enjoy good UIs, but RTS gamers, we do love our UIs and configuring it and everything. So yeah, this already makes me happy as well. I think this is a key point for if you want to see good early signs that the game is going on a good path, this UI.
Yeah, because here's the thing, UI, usually in games, UI is the last thing that they work on. Because generally it is seen as not unimportant. I'm pretty sure the developers think it's super important, but in the sort of management sense of allocating resources, it's in the least important part of the shuffle. So it's always the one that's worked on the least and the latest. And you can see that the game had a good budget and enough time to develop if they were able to develop a good interface.
Yes.
Like genuinely good interface that doesn't look generic, that doesn't look boring. If you wanna consider something, Hades, the roguelike games.
Yes.
Hades. Amazing UI.
Yeah.
Amazing UI. And they've developed it over such a long time with the unique art style. So yeah, it's again, as you said, very hype because of the UI and how they've shown it.
And for since we are talking about other games, for me the opposite example was when I first opened Skyrim and I had to navigate through the menus and everything. It was
Yeah, the Skyrim menus are just shit.
yeah, it was the opposite. Good UI can make a game for you, and bad UI can really break your immersion and your enjoyment. But yeah, this looks on point. This looks modern.
This looks on point, and that's such a good sign.
Yeah.
Okay, we can go on with the trailer.
And even different names. For example, the Egyptian
Sky UI is a
crocodile
required
called
mod for
Petsushos
sure.
seem to be called Petsubek in the retold edition. Let's continue by covering some major differences between the original games and the retold edition.
It just
The
looks so good.
first and
The
probably
Petsobek.
most significant gameplay or game strategy change is that god powers will be seemingly infinitely rechargeable in the retold edition.
Well, what can we say
This
when they
means you'll be able
show
to use powers such as
the
Meteor or
amazing
Lightning
models?
Storm
How the
twice.
god powers work?
And
Yeah,
even as
I'm
shown in the
waiting
live
for a
stream,
screen where
you'll be
it
able to
shows
get two Sons of Osiris.
The god
I'm curious to
powers,
see
yeah.
if
Yeah,
Bolt
on
will kill
top.
Son of Osiris in the retold edition, because you can in the original Titans edition, but you can't in the extended edition. I'm not exactly...
Like the earthquake, the meteor. Yeah, the Son of Osiris. You can have multiple Sons of Osiris. That's insane. There it is. Here it is.
The god
Cool
powers,
down.
yeah, the god powers. I was not a fan at all of the one-time use mechanics. One of the things I enjoyed the least, because if it's one-time use, first of all, it feels like it's too important. Like, if you have something that's one-time use, first of all, it needs to be very strong, because it needs to justify the one-time charge. And secondly, if you miss it, the consequences are huge. And also, if your opponent gets hit by it, it's devastating. I feel like by having it rechargeable, you can have powerful things, but also you won't lose the game by misusing a power, and you won't win a game just by a power alone. I feel like having them rechargeable makes balancing much more pleasant, and also the player experience much less frustrating. That's my opinion, without playing the game,
Not
of
just
course.
frustrating, but also potentially it makes the player experience so much better, because you get to be like, oh, I have the god power now, and I will have it at some point in the future. I can think whether I want to use it now, or whether I want to save it for a little bit later, how I want to use those powers and how they will affect the game state that I'm playing. That's for PvP. I don't think I'll get into PvP, but that kind of because that is actually, I think, a genuinely strategic level, because that is not just a macro level decision. That is like, that is like 5 steps ahead thinking of how you want to use the god powers. And in single player, you can just go, I got Meteor, boom!
Yes, it's more fun.
And because they look so awesome, and because they're so terrifying, especially like the larger ones, the later ones that you get, it will feel very impactful. And they have shown several of the god powers, the earthquake, the meteor. They look insane.
Yeah, and it's what we talked about in Battle for Middle Earth. It's the feeling powerful, that element of, yes, I have the power, with just one click I'm changing the landscape. You like to, as a gamer, you like to have the badass and the power of...
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes just using the abilities as soon as you have them can be more efficient. For sure.
Yeah, exactly. And the fact that you have this decision-making level now, it's much better, I feel like. Of course, when I talk...
And I want to say about Son of Osiris, I like that we'll have more than one, that we'll be able to have more than one, because it always felt like you couldn't quite use the Son of Osiris as much.
Yeah.
Because he would die and it would just be such a waste of a really good, really cool unit.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. The stakes were too high for the powers. Using a power wrong, wasting a Son of Osiris, the consequence of misusing it was so high that you ended up underusing them. And now, since you have the power, you will just use them more. And I mean, if they are awesome... oh yes, and Wasabi, yes, I'm sure they they will balance things.
I'm pretty sure. I don't know if he says it in the trailer or something, but I think he does that. That the favor is a currency used because you need to genuinely have a lot of favor to be able to actually use the god powers.
Yeah, exactly, Wasabi. I think I'm going to advance a little bit. The next point is exactly
Sure,
using
how this
fate
will
for
work.
powers.
Old leaked beta footage doesn't seem to be showing anything, and the trailer shows favor being the currency used for god powers. I'm going to lead towards it sometimes using favor, such as you can see in this clip on screen now. Although in the live stream they did speak about a Wonder Age reducing the cost of god power.
In fact, we also added a new age called the Wonder
See,
Age.
if you notice, I can pause. Sorry, I know that I'm a bit late on mine because it's on your stream, but if you can pause, or actually pause a little bit behind, when it was still on the god power. If you notice in the god power, it said 350.
Yeah.
And then once he casted it, it costs 400.
Yeah, I like that. Of course, I think also the main reason why we don't have a confirmation on this is because they are probably still experimenting. And I wouldn't be surprised if also this is one of the mechanics that changes a lot from god to god. Maybe some gods are more spammy. Well, sorry?
It has to. Imagine if you have gods that just have powers that are really shitty, essentially.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you can spam them, they're good.
Yeah, exactly. I hope that's the route they take. While other gods have super strong powers with super high costs, and picking the correct god or minor god will influence that spamming lure. Let's go.
The game is coming out completely in September. They have teased a beta in the when they revealed some details a couple of months back, but they have not shown anything about a beta now. Maybe you could say that the beta will be the early access part, but we'll get to the early access thingy.
Yeah.
With the expansion, so.
The cost of
Let's continue with the
And we
trailer.
also added a new age called the Wonder Age. And during the Wonder Age, you would actually be able to use the god powers for even
It does.
Another key
They've done
difference is
so
that
much
the
work.
retold edition will
The
have a
Medusas,
villager
the
priority
Titans. The Titans, I don't know if you noticed, this is something Lowrunner pointed out to me, but the Titans feel like they move faster.
Yeah, they used to be very clunky. And they feel...
And very good. This is a good place to stop actually.
Yeah,
this is very much a help for new players, and I am in favor of it so much. I think, in fact, that in Age 4, Final Age, pro players will also use it.
Yes.
Simply because there's just too much macro to go. Like, you want to min-max up until you get to the late game. Not mid-late game, but like really late game, and after that, you will want to automate it because you already have everything built up. You don't have to pay attention to it. You just have to make sure that the villagers keep working. And I love that there is a presets. You have presets for, what to focus on, how to focus on. We'll have to see how they exactly work. This is very much just a teaser that looks interesting, sounds cool, but what level of experimentation it actually gives, we'll have to see when we actually get to playing it.
Yeah, and also in Age of Mythology, contrary to Age of Empires and Starcraft as well, you can loop queues, which means you only need to queue one villager or one worker, then loop the queue, and you don't have to queue other SCVs or...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you can do that since the base game. So technically speaking, you can auto queue.
I didn't actually know that. I would always just shift click, because you can also shift click to make a lot of units.
Yeah, but here you can auto queue and set one of these pre-types. So technically speaking, you can focus 100% only on military. Your economy will be fully automated.
And your economy will be mostly fine as well.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's not going to be like a pro level. You'll have to really min-max it for that. But that's for pro players. Everyone else doesn't need to care. This is about having fun, and I think most people who are playing the game will mostly want to focus on using earthquake and meteor
I feel like
and getting
this
titans.
this will do two things. First off, it will raise the baseline of players so much, like what we consider like a gold player will be playing at a much higher tier because of this. Because I think like economy, production, and management is the main Achilles heel of new players.
Yeah, macro. The macro is,
exactly. Macro, yeah, exactly. And also,
absolutely.
what was I was.
Oh, true. The Wasabi is saying the truth. Xbox. This game is coming in even on PC with controller full support, which is awesome. AOE 2 has it. I hear it's really good. I have not tried it. I really felt the need to, because I might try just to see how it is here.
And
because I'm curious.
Another thing I like about this in particular is that I was talking about making games unique. I like making games unique. If this was in Age of Empires 2, I would hate it. If this was in a new franchise, if this was in Starcraft, like automating your eco, probably a lot of people won't enjoy this. If you are creating a new franchise, not creating, but recreating a franchise like Age of Mythology, and if you have the opportunity to experiment with something like this, I love it. I love it that they are doing this with a new franchise. I mean, it's not a new franchise, but it kind of is. So in this context,
in a way, it's basically a recreation of a franchise that's been almost dead for 23 years. So the thing is, economy management, like you can see that there are some types of automated economy, even in Stormgate. I think you have it to a certain point, or at least simplified if you want. You don't have to focus on it that much. But the thing is, with Age of Mythology specifically, the game is not about balance by its very nature. So because Age of Empires, as a series, it's meant to be historical. It's meant to be, that kind of thing. And you would sort of be taking a bit of it if you went with this level of potential economic management. Because I'm not saying, depending on how it's implemented, it will work. Probably more in Age of Empires 4, if I'm being real. Also because I don't think you could really trust the AI in Age of Empires 2. We have to be honest with ourselves for that. But here, for a game like this, where the game is meant to be really cool, it's meant to be so cool, it's meant to be like about gods and powers and so really say stuff. And yes, it has like all of the basic stuff that an RTS is supposed to have, but like if you can make it so that the players focus on the cool, economy management is not important for that. The good players will want to do it, I will want to do it, pro players will want to do it, but for a casual player, this is perfect. Both because it makes it easy mechanically, but because the genuinely cool aspect of the game, of the game concept, the game theme, if you will, is much easier to be put into the spotlight.
Yeah, I completely agree. This is great. I feel like some people might not like this, but I think you are completely on the same page.
Yeah. Okay, let's continue a bit. Let's see what else is there.
There's always people who don't like everything and people who like everything. So yeah.
System to assist lower skilled or newer players with their resource gathering micromanagement. This system will have presets for defensive and aggressive play and for the different ages, and I'm going to go ahead and assume that this will be different depending on the gold you use, because Egyptians like that gold. In addition to predetermined presets, you'll be able to set your own custom presets.
It wouldn't be a bad thing to have
the retold edition will obviously have far better graphics.
You can also just have accessibility
even when compared to the
instead of difficulty.
Additionally, there will be
to make it more accessible, but while still keeping it as difficult.
And you can see. Also, for playing with friends, I have a lot of friends who. I have friends who love Age of Empires, but their reaction is, "Oh, I get so tired from a single match because it's a lot." And Starcraft is the same. Managing the economy, the army, they get so exhausted that they're like, "I love this game, but I don't want to bother with it. Go play alone.
Yeah,
Nando.
that's the thing as well. I've also learned one of the reasons I don't really try to play competitively RTS games, especially Starcraft 2, is because I get so tired as well. Like, I play it for 2 hours, like, competitively on the ladder, and I'm exhausted. Like, last time I did it for a stream where I tried to get some clips for an audition I was trying to go for an agency.
Mm-hmm.
And I was wiped the next day. I literally couldn't do anything the next day. And you can clearly see and hear from my stories and everything how much I love StarCraft 2.
Yes.
So, you know.
So if you
It's
who
kind
loves StarCraft 2 have that pain, imagine someone who doesn't care about the game. Why will they bother going through all that effort? Yeah. But let's.
Okay.
We
Also, the models here.
Yeah.
The models.
Yeah, so good.
Amazing.
And it's amazing to see how this in my mind looked so good back then. And now the old model.
I mean, if we didn't have the comparisons,
Yeah.
we would still think of it as looking good. Like, now when we see the direct comparison, obviously, they look a little crap, because, I mean, they're 2002, obviously, different tech, but, I mean, it worked.
Yeah, it
You
worked.
know?
Yeah, that's what matters the most.
High quality images.
2002 GOAT is epic. I mean, yeah, I would agree with that, yeah.
Yeah.
For example,
It looks
Gold
really
Power. A really
funny.
big difference I think is worth mentioning are the improved destruction mechanic.
I
Instead
love-
of buildings just getting more and more engulfed in flames,
Yeah.
really basic flames, you can now actually see
So far,
constant
everything
things
we've
crumb
seen,
off
the
buildings, in addition to
building
buildings
destruction.
dropping to the
Looks-
floor.
yeah,
and-
this is my best. I wasn't a huge fan of Age of Empires 3 when it released, but the building destructions on AoE 3 were so
Insane.
good.
We haven't talked about A3, but I don't think either of us played it too much.
Yeah, it was. AoE 3 was like AoE 4 in a way. They wanted to try something different, and I liked that.
But they tried it too much.
Yeah,
They
exactly.
tried it too
It was
much.
too much. Yeah, but,
And the campaign was shit. The story was
Yeah.
shit. So
Just
shit.
destroy.
And
On
yeah,
Steam,
that's
the
what
base-
bounced me off the most.
yeah. And
The retail edition will set you back €30, and the premium upgrade will set you back 25. In addition to early access, the
Okay, so here we have the monetization thing. So, he'll talk a bit more about it. But one thing that I want to say here, you know, you can pause here, you know, with this one. You probably already have. So,
don't do it.
so here's the thing. I've seen one YouTuber, I'm not gonna name names, and you may have noticed if you've seen like, you know, news about games and stuff, you know, RTS, upcoming RTS compilations and stuff, and he was like, he was essentially like, I don't mind the Stormgate thing if you want to support developers, because like the game is free to play, but I dislike how you pay for 7 days advanced access for Age of Mythology. I think it's really scam. And I'm like, I'm not gonna say it's not. I mean, let's be real. That advanced access, you know, that kind of thing, it should just not be a thing. That's if the game is ready to be advanced access released, it's ready to be released. So you know, it's just a rip-off. Don't get me wrong. However, the thing is, so first off, I already explained the Stormgate thing. Why that's such an issue. The reason why I think it's actually far less egregious here is that if you look at everything else that you get with Premium Edition, you will understand that the 7-day advanced access is $1 or euro of the $20 extra price of the Premium Edition. You have a new god, Freyr, who I think is meant to be a main god. They don't quite explain it here, by the way they talk about him. He's meant to be a main god. The Legacy Deity Portrait Pack, okay, that's also not exactly like highest value, obviously. But you get 2 expansions. New epic sagas, one with the Chinese, and thank fuck, because the idea with the Chinese faction, Chinese mythology, that's awesome. And I think the first mission, I've actually tried it. The first mission was actually kind of fine. Then the second mission was very, very clearly like basic player first time trying to make a map thing. And I gave up. I realized it was really that bad. And obviously like the gods were also basically different skin versions of them myself, so it wasn't worth it. In this case, they're going to make a campaign, probably something like a Titans campaign, I would imagine, in that scope, and having full proper new Chinese pantheon, and then a new pantheon and a new story, like 2 expansions. I'm pretty sure the 2 expansions are basically the $20 that you pay for. Everything else that you get here is an extra freebie. Yes, the advanced access is bullshit, but it's legitimately not even really part of what you're paying for. While for Stormgate, if you pay $25 for it, for a free-to-play game, the only thing you get is 2 weeks early access.
Yeah.
To an early access.
Yeah, the difference is massive.
And even the other options are not really great, and they cost up to $60.
Yeah.
And you're also getting an early access game, and this here is supposed to be a fully complete game, and everything else that they're adding here with the expansions is expansions in the future. So, how many factions were in the original game? You had 3 factions. You had the Greeks, you had the Egyptians, and you had the Norse. And the Titans expansion added the Atlanteans. And I'm pretty sure the Atlanteans in current versions of Age of Mythology are banned from PvP because of their mechanics, but also because their god powers have charges. So they're not on cooldown, but you have 3 charges for each god power. So that's kind of way too OP to use in PvP. But they are so there are 4 factions, and this game is going to launch with those 4 factions. The Chinese faction was added with the remaster, which was kind of an okay remaster in terms of graphical settings and stuff, although not the best. And then they made that expansion, and that expansion just sucked, the Chinese expansion. Yeah. So that's why they're adding it as the 5th civilization.
Yeah, no, I could try to add anything, but I think you've covered this point perfectly.
Sorry, I've thought about this so much. This is something that I really wanted to.
No, don't worry. This is, if you have strong opinions, it's good to share them. I'm glad you're doing it here. I'm going to continue the trailer for a bit.
Pack will give you access to a brand new Norse gold, prayer, and legacy portrait looks for all the gold. With the premium pack, you'll also have access to...
I will say that I hope you don't have to pause it for now unless there's something important, but I really hope... the portraits are fine. I really hope that the second expansion, one that I would really love to see, is the Aztecs.
Additional pantheon.
Oh, yes, I've seen many people talk
that
about
has yet to be announced.
There are a lot of civilizations you can go. You can go Babylonians, Assyrians, the variety of those. You could go Old Persian, you could go Zoroastrian, because those aren't necessarily the same. You can go Indian, various Indian deities, Jain, Hindu, Buddhist would work. I don't think Buddhist would work. Hindu would definitely work. Probably old Indonesian religions. There are many of those. Old Japanese religion as well. For sure. Even Shinto. You don't even have to go for old. You can go for Shinto. Aztec, Maya, Inca, all of those Native Americans, mind you can go for various flavors of Native Americans, depending on, which group, because they have different sets of, I believe, beliefs. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure, I'm not that well versed into Native Americans, but we could probably do that. You can do, Maori, there's so many things. Like, I think you could have, just from base myths, without any variant factions, if they ever had variant factions, you can, just from, mythologies around the world, you can go at least up to 30 factions.
Yeah.
That's not even to say all of the African religions and belief systems that you can make so many good stories out of. The only thing that sucks for me, as a Slavic person, is that if they release a Slavic one, it will probably suck, but not because it will be badly done or anything, but because Slavic mythology is pretty much... first, we all have almost nothing recorded. We barely know the names of a lot of the gods. They're also a bit different depending on which groups of Slavs and which are worshipped. But also because of the proximity and because of because they're still in the European group, the general mythology is probably pretty much the same as the Norse mythology. So you'd basically be double dipping, from what we know. So it's not, unfortunately, the Slavic mythology cannot work, which I hate because I have researched. I have tried to find good stuff. I think maybe Polish people and Russian people have some more stuff specifically with theirs, with their variants. But like we here in Southern, like the most celebrated in Croatia, at least. I'm not sure if it's in the rest of the South Slavic world, but the most celebrated author of fairy tales in Croatian, Ivana Brlić-Mažuranić. She's taught everywhere all the time. Everyone knows her. She herself has stated that she has tried her best, that she has searched through everything she could find, and that for all of her stories, all of the fairy tales, basically everything is, not everything, but basically everything is something that she conjured up herself. Yeah. Because there just wasn't the information. So, I guess you can make a mythology based on that, and it would be as fair a try as any. But
yeah. I mean,
it sucks.
If they have other mythologies that make their lives easier, they will probably
that are more unique, more different.
Yeah, exactly.
It just there's no real focus. That's why I said it sucks for me as a Slav. I can't really suggest my own original mythology when there's basically nothing that you can do with it. Like whatever version you make of it, if you want to make it more unique, you're basically making the whole thing up from scratch with just the names of the gods as a specific thing. That's it.
Yeah. Here in Portugal, it's basically, we have the Romans and the Celts.
Yeah.
The Celtics, basically.
The Romans and the Celts, yeah.
Yeah.
So, you have, it's more Iberian in general, but you could go with Basque mythology. I know it's not that much important. They're not really in Portugal, but
yes.
If you want the most unique Iberian mythology set, it's probably the Basque, I would imagine.
Yes. I agree. But yeah, Age of Mythology, we are both hype.
Extremely hype.
To say the least.
I hope you guys are hyped now too. Karan Toste, if this made you more interested in the game, go freaking pre-order it.
Yes.
Let's go. Like Nando and I, when the game releases, hopefully if I have time, we'll see. We're gonna play some PvP as well.
Yes.
We can also play. That's one thing we haven't talked about. We've almost forgotten to talk about it, but we also don't have that much information on it because it's not here. The Wrath of the Gods mode.
Oh yes, I don't know much about it.
That's because they haven't really said anything about it. So, the Wrath of the Gods mode is meant to be either both a single player and a co-op mode. It's meant to be, from what we understand, they say that you're going to be passing stages and getting blessings, which sounds very roguelike or roguelite, however you call it. And the main thing for me is that, are we just going to be battling with our heroes, or are we going to be having base building? So if we're going to be having base building, we might have a proper co-op roguelike RTS mode. And that by itself, just those sentences as a concept, sounds awesome to me.
Yeah.
Because actually, I don't know if you've seen it. There's a game which is mostly a concept game. It's a roguelike RTS called Rogue Command. It's single player. It's not co-op. Mm-hmm. But if you want to try it to see how a roguelike RTS works, I recommend it. I've had a lot of fun with it. Did some suggestions to the devs and all. It's made by a small 2-person team. And, it's worth trying as an indie game. And when I think of Wrath of the Gods, and I think of Rogue Command, but like in Age of Mythology and co-op, and I was just like, yes,
Yes. Let's go. No, the potential is definitely there. I hope they deliver on all fronts, and I mean they don't have to deliver everything on day one, but I hope the game has a good and steady life and gets the time to expand and to create a community and build hype and
like if the baseline game is good, if the game systems are good, and the game is not too buggy, everything else will flourish.
Yes, for sure. But
Okay.
yeah,
I think I made you miss your appointment by too much. We should probably wrap it up.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. It's just because I've thought a little bit. I wish I had more time, like but these last weeks and next week will be so chaotic. I'm like, okay, I need to schedule like 3 hours for this, 1 hour for that. I hate to be on the minute. It's a lifestyle I really dislike. But sadly, I really need to be on the minute this week.
Yeah.
Oh, but
no worries.
Don't let it.
I've had a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was what I was also about to say. I had a blast chatting with you. It was a really fun stream. I'm glad you approached me with the idea first, and
I hope chat enjoyed it.
Yes, that was what I was also about to say. I hope chat also enjoyed joining us. It was a blast, and it's good to see because, for example, if you are talking about RTS with other people, we have to contextualize a lot of what we are saying. But because both me and you know so much about the genre, we can just ramble on. There's no need to contextualize. We speak the same language.
Yeah, we are very deep. It's like, when you, it depends on the genre. With every genre that you're in, like, it's the same when you play Paradox games. Paradox games are also an even more niche genre, honestly. And like, if you're playing, if you're talking about those games with someone who is into them, they know what you're talking about. If you don't, then they're like, "What the fuck are you talking about? Are you insane?" So yeah.
Yeah. What do you mean? You want your daughter to marry the Pope?
I mean, the most logical thing ever, of course. And then what's even better, the daughter is a niece of the Pope.
Yes. Paradox games in a nutshell.
Obviously. Incest
Yeah.
and war crimes. What makes a better combo?
But yeah, I think it's time to end. I want to thank you once again for joining me.
Of course.
It was a blast.
I've had so much fun, obviously.
And I also want to I want to thank everyone in chat as well, and remember to leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you want to see more for either me or Hanakawa. It was I have your name small now.
No worries.
Terakawa, yes. I mixed it. I said Hanakawa, I think.
Terakawa Hana, yeah.
Terakawa Hana.
You can also just go with Terra.
Okay.
Terra and Hana, both are good. But if you guys, obviously you follow Nando, you're here for him as well. If you wanna, if I can talk a bit more about what I stream, I don't just stream RTS or Paradox games. I'm a variety gamer. Currently, I'm streaming. Or I'm, trying to stream more often Trails of Cold Steel, which is a Japanese RPG. I play gacha games. I play a huge variety of games. I'm actually also pretty decent at Apex. I'm a diamond level at Apex, which is also more or less my limit at Apex. But and haven't really felt like playing Apex recently. But if you want to see that kind of variety as well, you can please check me out. As I said, links are there. I've also shouted you out in my chat, and when I stream next, which might be tomorrow, might not, we'll see. I will shout you out again because, of course, even if even if it wasn't for this stream, I would have. I love shouting people out, and we grow together or we fall together.
Yeah, being a streamer is hard, so we need to stick up to each other for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's it for me. Thank you again for for the stream, and thank you, chat. You were very awesome. Love to also talk with you in chat. That also everyone seems to know at least a bit about the genre, so that helped a lot. So yeah, thank you, and let's hang out again soon.
Yeah. Thank you very much. And on that note, I have nothing more to add. I think this was a perfect way to end the stream. So I'm going to cut to the end stream, and thank you very much, everyone. And I hope to see you on the next one. Bye-bye.
Yes. Bye-bye.
Bye.